Hey guys, how's it going? Andres here with another episode of the Ponytails podcast. Excited. Boom, boom. We're approaching 150. Let's go. Welcome. If you've never heard about us before, if this is your first episode, let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing here. We interview people who sold books for Southwestern Advantage, books like educational books, door to door for 80 hours a week during their summers in college. We are not affiliated with the company in any way. The only thing that we have in common is the fact that the people on our team, myself included, sold books with this company as well. Now we have some crazy stories that we have our guests share from their time doing this. We've had guests who sold in as far back as like 1968. We've had guests who just sold this last summer, that literally like 2022. We've had all sorts of different walks of life come onto the show and share their experience, good, bad, ugly. So hopefully you guys enjoy. If this is your first episode, make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Casts, or whatever, make sure you guys subscribe, hit the bell, so you guys can get regular notifications for new episodes if you enjoy this one. And if you don't, that's really cool. We don't really give a shit. Now, I want to give a quick shout out to some of our jockeys here on the air who are sharing some advice, entrepreneurial advice for our audience. So listen up. If you guys have already heard some of these, great. Write this down, put it on a sticky note. I don't care what you do with it, but it's some sound advice. First up, starting up with Will Metscher, who is talking about how to be a successful coach. Um, Three things to remember: coaches are still broken. The question will be, can you admit that about yourself? Number two, you don't have to know everything to be a great coach. You have to actually care, ask great questions, and hold people accountable to doing more. And number three, your clients do not have to be the most driven. Some people are desperate for work life balance and they want your help making that work. So that's a big reminder for your life as well. But then, of course, as you're coaching others along. Quick advice from Elevate Wellness and a little bit about what they're doing. If you just got done selling books and you're listening to this, if you're going to Sizzler, make sure you guys join their second annual Sizzler Shred. It's huge. It's currently about by the time this airs, it's probably going to be already underway. But Seth and Zane created a competition where you guys can join. The more people that join, the more prize money that you're able to win if you are in the top three finishers. Last year, they gave away like $4,500 worth of prizes. They donated like $1,000 to the service project. So if you guys want to learn more information about that, click on the link below. Get signed up for this Sizzler Shred, look good, and win some cash. So that's exciting for them. Love those guys. Seth's a stud. And then last but not least, quick shout out from Cardinal Senior Benefits. Quintin Roberts has some advice when you're entering the insurance business. People focus too much on percentages and how much you make. Instead of that, make sure to look at the culture and mentors and management, the overall performance of the group. People fall in love with the industry because they don't have a good grasp on their money, and they fail in this industry because they don't have a good grasp on their money. Most social relational issues in life are due to financial struggles. When you join a job, you should see it as something you want to marry. So that's good advice for anybody in general. So that's great. I also want to give you guys a couple of announcements. If you're still with me, make sure you sign up for our newsletter, The Colts. It's out now, and you guys can find it. Learn a little bit more about how to earn units. Learn a little bit more about how to get free stuff from us. We'll send you merch. We'll send you discounts on different items that we sell on our store. We'll get you guys uh, excited for the next episodes that are coming up. So make sure you sign up for that. The cult that's at the ponytailspodcast.com. If you go to our website, you can sign up for our newsletter. And here it is here at the bottom. There you go. The ponytailspodcast.com. If you're watching, make sure you join. Check out our merch on our website. Mm, got some cool hoodies and stuff that are up there, and you guys can check them out. Get yourself some cool stuff. Alrighty. Now, last couple of announcements. We are going to be going to our second Bizzler. So more information on that much later on. But just so you guys know, we just got done with our Bizzler a few weeks ago. Such a fun time, and it's a great alumni reunion. It was a lot of fun. We're going to Colombia next year. Colombia in October. So get excited for that. Super awesome time that we had in Mexico, and we are pumped about it. And then last but not least, make sure you guys are checking out our derby meetings. We are doing these lives with our jockeys. They are sharing some amazing wisdom on entrepreneurial topics such as how to incentivize your team, how to create a productive work environment, how to create a company culture that's worthwhile. So those are happening every Friday at 9 Pacific, 12 Eastern. And Lee McCroskey is going to be hosting those. So that is exciting. Let me introduce our guest for today, and then we'll have him join here in a second. Mickeli Bedore, he is with us. He sold one summer in 2001, glorious summer. That was the year that UNL, University of Nebraska-Lincoln, what was the #1 campus in the world, although he didn't go to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, but nobody's perfect. He was part of the JYD organization from the University of North Dakota, originally from Hawley, Minnesota. If you guys want to get a hold of Mickeli, you can go and find him on LinkedIn. He's got to have a lot of reasons why you're going to want to contact him. He's has had a lot of success in building businesses and has a lot of lessons on that. We were kind of talking a little bit about that, but I'm excited to learn more. You can also go to his website. He used to run a show called Closers Corner, I think is what it's called. But if you guys want to learn more about that, closersmedia.com is where you can go check that out as well. His favorite squirrel is I will persist until I succeed. So on the air here in a second with Mickeli.
Ponytails Podcast. Here we go.
Boom. And we're on. How's it going, man? Coffee and Closers. That's what it was called.
No worries. You know what? With all your fantastic guests, we all get mumbled together. Do you know what I mean? That was probably like somebody else's show and someone else's show and someone else's show. But and you just kind of went, it's like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Closers Corner is the event we had for managers. Like a meeting. I don't know.
That was the name of our newsletter prior before we changed it, but you know what I mean? Closers Corner is so it's those like what iteration is that the thing where it's like CCFF? You know what I mean? Like I think it's a guy thing. Ellen, our marketing gal at Closers, used to just rag on me because it was like dad jokes and that. It was like I was the worst at both of those things. Just like, you know, free food, coffee and Closers Corner. You know what I mean? It's driving nuts. By the way, forgot to tell you, I didn't go to UNL, but my wife did. So we got a hungry Husker in the house.
Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Sad day for us this last weekend. First football game.
Tough day. Well, it's been a little while since the Big Ten thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it was rough. Wait, so your wife is she from Nebraska originally?
She's from Northern Iowa, but she went to UNL. She actually got her master's there. So she did, I think, 6 or 8 years there. So she lived in Lincoln for a while, well, obviously, and then she moved to Omaha for a bit, and then she moved up to the Twin Cities, where I was able to gator wrestle her into marriage with me. And 10 years later, here we are.
Check out the big brain on Mrs. Bedore. That's awesome.
Oh yeah,
married up from Lincoln. Dude, both of us. I married up too. Don't worry.
Dude, Memorial is legit. Like that is a legit. I mean, you hear rumors, you're like, oh, it must be great. You see it on TV, you're like, that looks fun. And then you go there, you're like, what? This is what football culture is like.
Electric.
I mean, we had hockey up at UND, and football culture was fun, but no one took us serious because at that time we were still D2. We had D1 hockey, but I mean, I went to Memorial. I was like, dang. And then, so there was this Mexican place that everyone went to, and then there was that disgusting like meat pastry thing that everyone got at. What's that?
A runza.
That's the one. I know why.
Brandon Q would say you can't spell runza without the runs.
Well, just gonna park it there because that thing lived up to his reputation. That's a fact, and that was at the stadium. So I was that guy. You know what I mean? And it's not like they have, they don't have like a parking director. It's like if you're in the middle of the stand, which we were because we were in, borderline student tickets. It took me a half hour to just get to the. You know what I mean? Those things have got to cut. Someone made that as a joke, and then it took off as like a delicacy. And the joke's on all of us that ever eat those things,
Yeah, it's great. I've never liked it, but it's so famous in Nebraska. Like, that's what it is. It's like for people who don't know what the hell we're talking about, it's like it's cabbage and beef, and then it's wrapped around dough with some dough, and then they throw it and bake it, and it's called a runza.
But it's good. It doesn't sound good when you say it like that, but it actually is tasty. I dug it. I was like,
I never liked it, but when you go home, you got to eat it just because it's like it's home, But okay, I'm so cool. By the way, if people don't know what the hell we're talking about when you're saying Memorial, we're talking about the 90,000 or 85,000 hold capacity stadium that's full of loud human beings because all we have to care about in sports is the college football team because we have nothing else. And so it's like it's crazy. They're so loud. It's so loud.
It's so loud. And you said it like we'd go there in the summer. People were wearing Nebraska stuff. I'm like, football season? Do you guys run on a different schedule? It was like, it didn't matter when we go there, football season or not. Everybody, it was like game day every day, like in the middle of the summer, it was whenever. And I'm like, man, these guys are fans, super fans.
They're big fans,
which makes it fun. You don't want to go to some half-baked, like, you know what I mean? Like, we used to go to
empty stadium.
Yeah. We used to go to a memorial that turned to Laris. So it was weird because when I was at UND, I was there long enough. I did the victory lap because I switched majors and I dicked off a lot, so there's that. But I always blame it on the major switching, but clearly that's just a lie. That's a cover up. But we had the barn, which was the hockey, like that was the hockey stadium that turned into the Ralph Engelstad Arena, which I don't know if it still is, but at the time that was like the Taj Mahal of all of hockey, like global, not just. Did you know this? It was like the nicest stadium in the world. Not just like for all of hockey, not just NHL, not just Sweden. It was like the nicest stadium ever. And but prior to that was the barn. Everyone called it the barn, and it was just gross. It was like you couldn't take a dump because there was too many pints in the toilet. Like people just like they'd load up and then they'd drop their pint. You know what I mean? So you're just pissing on. It was a mess. Gross. And then they went and you could hang on the glass. It was just it was Animal House. And then they turned the Taj Mahal up, the Ralph Engelstad, and they're like, you students, you see that corner way up there, that one rafter way up there. See that? That's where you sit now. And then all the elites just sat like in our old seats. So killed the culture for a bit. I think they figured it out after a while, but yeah, that was the deal.
Dude, good times. Sports are great. People don't like sports, but some people don't like. My wife doesn't like sports. I'm like, how do you not? Anyway, I digest, as Nick Traverti says.
They think it's a waste of time, which
it's not.
I don't agree with that at all. I think it's good for the heart. It's with the world that we live in right now. Why not days off for a bit? What's 4 hours of just blissful? You know what I mean? Just like a brain nap.
Yeah. Watching people do amazing things.
Things that I'll never do.
Forget about Biden and Trump and all that COVID bullshit. Just
dial it in and watch a bunch of grown men that. My buddy, he's a big Steelers fan, and I'm a huge Vikings fan, which I wish I wasn't. But I'm a Vikings fan, and he's like, and every year they break my heart. And so he said things from New Jersey.
As a Husker fan, I understand.
Oh, especially recently, man. Oh, and he should tell me, he goes, hey, he goes, why do you care about those bums? He goes, how many of them were at your wedding? How many of them call you up on your birthday? I go, none. He goes, exactly. He goes, they don't care about you, so why do you care about them? And for like 6 minutes, I was like, yeah, I don't care about the Vikings anymore. Good point, Rich. And then 6 minutes after that, I was, of course, going back to ESPN.com and checking to see. Yeah, right. What is it, man?
Oh, good times, man. It's the same reason why. It's the same reason why people like talking about, or why people celebrated in Southwestern, why people celebrated like people who did well, because it's just fun to witness people doing great things that are hard to do and doing them gracefully. I think that we all love the idea of, I can't do that, but to watch a person like, I don't know. I like soccer and stuff like that for the reason, because you're like, that's so hard to do, and they're doing it so like it's nothing. It's crazy. It's fun to watch.
You're right. It's fun to watch someone do what they love and excel at it. And I don't know what comes first, or you know what I mean, first or second. Like they love it because they're good at it, or they're good at it because they love it. I mean,
Yes, on this, actually, this is an interesting topic that kind of relates. But yes, I was just having this conversation. We recorded our episode with Jacob Levine. He's one of our biggest fans of the show, and he's a phenomenal like videographer. Like he does, event videos, wedding videos. He's really, really talented. Right. And I was asking him, like, there's certain things that you have a passion for? Like for me, stand-up comedy, right? But then there's also certain things that you find out you're good at, and then it's a different kind of passion because you enjoy doing something really well. Do you know what I mean? And that's it's a little it's different. Maybe, it's which one comes first. I don't know, but I feel like sometimes when you find out you're accidentally good at something, and you're like, wow, it's a pleasure, as Augmendino says, it's a pleasure to perform. when it's a passion to perform, it is man's nature to perform it often. So it's like, I think that's two types of passions. One is like the natural one where you're like, wow, I love this. And the other one's like, wow, I'm good at this and I love being good at this. So I'm going to keep doing it.
But then the whole deal is, how did you find out you're good at it? Do you know what I mean? Like, have you ever had things that people have told you, like, you're good at it and you're like, oh, thanks. And you just pass it off until one day it clicks and you're like, maybe I should be doing that. Like, what am I doing? This, I should be doing that. I mean, I think you talk about your show and COVID and all that. And we had our show and COVID actually killed our show, but it helped. I'm glad that it created this one because this is awesome. But, you know, I wonder, like, when that happens is when you go, wait, I'm really good at this. And COVID, you know, provides something like COVID, you know, provides a pivot, stop. And then you go, all right, I'm going to go. I mean, why not? Right. Like, I lost this other thing. Right. Why not try this other avenue? I wonder when that happens, you know, when you're like, man, I've heard that I'm like, when does it click? I don't know. I mean, I'm not a brain surgeon
that's
here.
A good question. It could be like what the moment when someone that you look up to in the field validates you, right? Like I imagine we actually talked about this on that episode too, which is funny. That episode is going to air after this one, but that's okay.
Oh, right.
So like my thoughts are still the same on it, where it's like take someone who's like a good singer. And, you know, their whole life, they're like, oh, you're a good singer. And in high school, they did the plays and they were maybe the lead, but they were like, oh, I mean, but a lot of people are the lead of the show, right? In high school, in every high school, there's the lead, right? But then you go to like The Voice, right? And like I have a friend who was like second place in The Voice or something like that. And she like in high school, we were always like, Hannah, her name is Hannah Houston. It's like, Hannah, you're a great singer. And, you know, people probably told her that her whole life. But once she's in front of like, you know, Pharrell and, you know, Blake Shelton or these famous Christina Aguilera, and they turn and they tell you you're a great singer. I feel like at that point you're like, oh yeah, no, I am good. Like,
yeah.
What I mean? Like,
and then you never have to hear it again.
Something like that.
You're like
good.
All you chumps that told me in the past, but because Christina Aguilera said it, that genie in a bottle just popped out, right? Like, and I'm now, over. Yeah, okay.
Same thing with stand up is different though. Stand up, you either have it or you don't.
Oh, I want to get into this because
you're either funny or not, you know? I don't know.
I want to just I told you about this on our pre-approach, which I love that you call it that. Is speaking of pre-approach, check this out. I brought this. Look at this.
Oh, wow. Put that.
I still have this. This is from 2001. And you know what's weird? We just moved to Whitefish, Montana a year ago. That's why when you called it a pre-approach, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You're actually still calling it that. So I'm going through this, right? And there's this, and we've moved around. I lived all over the place. And but I've been married to my wife for 10 years as of this year. And we've only moved twice. And prior to that, she lived everywhere. I mean, we're just, you know, that's who we were, right? Is just nomadic. And so we moved our kids to Whitefish, Montana. And there's this one box. And it's like, we're trying to downsize and get, you know, it's an opportunity to purge. And she's like, what is this box? And I go, oh no, we don't go in that box. And she goes, what is it? What's in it? And I honestly didn't remember. I'm like, it's like, you know, you've moved a bunch of this boxes has come in. It was pictures from high school. It was just like awards, just things that meant something to me, songs that I had written, and whatever. And pictures that some my kids shouldn't see and some I'm proud to show them. And then there was this pre-approach and a couple other things, but the pre-approach thing, I was like, how has this lasted 7 moves? Like from and that doesn't include like 6 times I moved in 5 years in college. You know what I mean? The multiple apartments I lived on the East Coast, like the 2 apartments I lived in Denver, like you know, I mean, all over the place. You know, we've lived all over the place, and the 4 times we moved in the cities, and I still have this thing, and I couldn't believe it when she pulled it. She goes, "What is this?" And I was like, "This was on like Saturday or Sunday, or like what is? Oh yeah, today's Monday. It was like yesterday." She goes, "What's this?" I'm like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "I can't believe you just randomly pulled that out today." I'm like, "I'm bringing that on the show." She goes, "What show?" And I said, "I'm like." She doesn't talk like that, by the way. She's the sweetest person on earth. I don't know why I make her sound like she's a villain. But she was just like, pull this out. And I was like, what? I didn't know it was in the box, you know, because half of the stuff, like the last time I looked in the box, there was a couple of Cancun nudies in there. So I obviously had to throw those away. And so I didn't look in the box. I'm like, I'm not looking in the box. And there it was. At the top of the box was this pre-approach from 2001.
Anyway, here's the thing. We actually have to explain this a little bit because there's actually kids who listen to the show who started selling in like 2017, so 5 years ago, and like they don't know what that is because they do it on the iPad now. Like it's so crazy now. It's like the iPad basically has like like Google Maps, and you can like take notes on like drop pins on each house and like basically what we had on paper, but it like records them for you and even gives you like
Wow.
sometimes it gives you the name of the house without even talking to the parents, like because of like something. I don't know. Sales Rabbit is amazing, but for those kids, they don't know what you just held up. Back in the day,
I'll show it again. Back in the day before Google. Well, and here's what these kids don't understand. We were just selling without Google. There was no internet. So I don't know about you. I had like a Nokia, like I didn't even have you know what? I lied. I didn't even have a cell phone when I sold because it was 2001. I didn't even get a cell phone until, later on in college because I think I was a sophomore in 2001. I don't, whatever. Who cares?
The Twin Towers were still erect.
Yes.
When you sold.
That's right. Because I remember it came back and that happened. Right. Yeah. Yep. That's right. So yeah, it would have been becoming
like when you were selling, there was still the World Trade Center. Like, I mean, there is one now, but there was still
I would have been a junior. Towers. I would have been a junior. Yeah. So that's what it was. Yeah. And I was no cell phone. Like that was our Napster. We were ripping. We did have internet, but it was like dial-up. Now, granted, I went to school in North Dakota, so like the rest of the world could have had running water, and we're just like still pumping from the well. But like, I mean, I don't know, but like, we didn't have internet. I'll just say that, and we certainly didn't have cell phones, so we had to do this. So if you blow up, I popped multiple tires that summer. If I blew a tire, one from a dog bite, no joke. I was in Appalachia. It was wild. But anyway, I had to change the tire myself because there was no one going to help me. You know what I mean? And now with Google,
you had to figure it out. Yeah.
Dude. Cheaters, a bunch of cheaters.
Now, hey, I still took pre-approach on a paper like an adult. I still like went and like you had to like mark down people. I didn't even know how to explain this, but it's basically like you would write down, you make a line on your pen, like on your paper, and as you would be driving down the street, you'd see like, okay, blue house, red house, and you'd like map out. You make the map, and then when you went and talked to family, you would have to find clever ways of asking where the children were.
Right. Which is probably way harder nowadays.
Like, yeah. So you basically are like, all right, if I go next door, can I skip them or should I definitely go there? And like the mom would be like, oh no, they're old. They're retired. You don't want to go talk to them. All right, cool. What about the house after the red one? They're like, oh, actually they have a high school. You're like, all right, cool. Which is not it's just, there was other, I'm not going to give all the methods because I don't know who's listening, but the one is you find all this information and then that's who you like. So when you would go up to that house, you would have a little more ammo to show up and be like, hey, are you the dad? Cool. You're Tim, right? Yeah. Cool. Nice to meet you, Tim. Yeah. I was talking to Susie 2 doors down and she mentioned that she might've mentioned I was coming by. So it just kind of helped you be more professional. But it was on paper and you had the four colored, multicolored pen and you were doing all this other stuff, trying to get organized. Now they just pull up the iPad. It's crazy.
That's garbage. They got to go back. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't either. But yeah, no, I remember that.
The pros and cons. The cons is now they have to deal with moms on Facebook, which is a different kind of hurdle, man. We didn't have to deal with that.
I have seen that. So we've actually, I'm not telling anyone where I live now because I bought thousands of dollars when we moved to the lake out in the cities, the Twin Cities, that is, in Minnesota. And we had these kids that would just throttle our neighborhood like one time, twice in a summer. And I still bought, you know what it is? Because you're like, I remember this going through, but I'm not. I'll tell you what, one of my good buddies, Ryan Padgett, I don't know if he's been on the show, but he was a DSM. Like he did this for a long time. Good guy. And he happened to be over at our place. Our kids were playing together. They're about the same age. And we're sitting by, just, sitting, kid knocks on the door. It was a big like a big wall of windows overlooked the lake. It was great. And we were sitting there in the living room. And you could see the kid walk up because we had the patio open. Door knocks, and we the whole side deal, and you like take a couple steps back. And I was like, oh snap, I know what this is. Because we had people hucking all kinds of crap, like fertilizer. Well, whatever. I'm not a farmer. I don't know what I just said there. Well, something for bugs or whatever. And anyway, so kid comes up, and sure enough, Padge is like, this is a bookseller. And we both hopped up and we both greeted the door like ambiguously, and anyway, so we're like just so excited, and we come on in. And kid comes in and, does the whole spiel. And I was talking to your neighbor, the Drakes over there. Prior to that, Bob and Jan Stein. I was like, I mean, very well, obviously, but yes. I just went through the whole deal. And Padge had his checkbook out, I think, before the kid was even done. Yeah, we tried to sweat him, but you're just like, yep, get to the close now so I can buy something and feel good about myself. And then the second one he wasn't with, and I kind of probably ragged on that kid a little much because I had already bought, and I was like, if I'm gonna buy something again, because I was like, what is this deal? Yeah, I was like, how are there two of you in the same summer at the same house? I don't know how that worked out, but we always support him. But it is crazy to see like the consistencies of what we were taught to what they're still being taught. Oh, yeah. And how it transfers. I mean, it's transferred over into my life. Obviously, it's transferred over into yours. But to see these kids, and a lot of them now are foreign, so they're coming in from like Poland and wherever, and they're learning English skills too. So it's like a totally different deal, and they don't take it for granted. My guess is they just ran out of American kids that wanted to work. I don't know. And they're bringing these kids in from Eastern Europe or whatever, and they're coming in. They're just happy. They're getting paid probably more than they would back home. There's just this weird opportunity to go door to door and sell books, which I'm guessing isn't freely open in their country. And then they're learning English, and they're getting to see American life like on the daily basis. That's got to be fascinating.
Real American life, real like what people. And we had June was an entire month of only European guests. And so it was like, and we asked them, all of them, like, hey, what was your first impression? What was it like? Where did you sell? Some of us were like Arkansas, Mississippi.
Oh man,
like we had a girl who's from Latvia, like small town Latvia, and like the first time she saw a black person was in Mississippi. So she went like 18 years of her life before she saw a black person in person, like in the flesh. She was like, this is wild. Like, I mean, her mind was blown. She's like, whoa, it's just shocking, right? Because everybody looked white and pale. Like even a tan white person was a lot for her, probably.
It's good for us to think about that too, to say, what are things that we just take as normal everyday life, and then what are things that someone from Latvia deals with that we would be equally shocked if someone threw us. Like I was out in Tennyson County, Appalachia, Ohio, right on the border of, Kentucky. So that had, that was its own culture. But if I got chucked into like Latvia or the Ukraine or not the Ukraine, Czech Republic, or like some of the kids that we've had, knock on order, I'm like, I'd be a wild one too,
Crazy experience. Oh yeah. Well, and it's, I mean, it can happen within the state. Like when I went and sold in New York, well, not really New York as much, Massachusetts, people are like the vibe, the culture there within, it's still the United States, but the difference between life in Lincoln, Nebraska, chill, slow, to just outside of Boston, and they're like, what do you need? What do you want? Like just quick. It's crazy. It's crazy how different it is even within countries. So imagine within the same country. So for them, it must have been like, it's got to be crazy.
East Coast is its own.
A lot of them come here and they break even. They don't even make that much money because they spend $2,500 just to get here.
Wow.
And then plus their expenses. So sometimes if they sell, 1,000 units, after it's all said and done, they make like $2 or $3 grand maybe. And some of them it costs more, some it costs less. It just depends. But it's crazy. What's wild is a lot of them now, even to this day, to the summer, are the best sellers. Like if you look at the Pacesetter, if you look at the like top producers, it's like the top 3 right now are all from like Poland, or from like, they're better than the natural speaker, like the first language speakers here. It's wild.
You got to think. I mean, I wonder if these kids look at this and go, all right, this is a $3,000 master's degree, right? Like the cheapest master's degree of all times, because I'm learning all of this stuff. So I might not make a whole lot of money, but I'm going to make a ton of money later on in life from this experience. And it'd be curious to hear. I have to listen to some of those episodes, because it'd be curious to hear, like, how do they leverage that? Do they understand? Like, do you understand what you're capturing as far as, a repository of knowledge? Like, do you understand, like, the skill sets that you're capturing are not just sales, they're way beyond that. And what are you going to do with it? Because that should put them at the advantage over their peers if they decide to stay where their home is, or if they decide to dip out and either come to the States or come somewhere else and be like, I can do anything after that.
It's crazy. Well, and kind of what you're saying, like, just even the glass ceiling breaking alone is just sets them up for even for people here in the States. Like when you go, and I've told this story in the show before, but when you go and you are surrounded by a group of people like that, what you believe you can do in your life changes. Like I always tell this story. I've told this before, so sorry for some of you guys who've already heard it. But we had a friend of ours, my brother and I were talking. A friend of ours comes up to us and he says he wants to run a half marathon. And a bunch of people up to there had told him, oh, you can't, you've never been a runner. You're not going to run a half marathon. Are you crazy? And we were like, half. And he just kind of looks at us. He goes, no, you're right. I should run a full, huh? Like, yeah, run a fucking full marathon. Right? It's like that difference of like people believing in you or you believing in yourself. When they go back, we had people, we've had some of the kids on the show that we had from Europe, they would say like they would go back and just the ability to just say, yeah, I'm going to start a business and like confidently be able to say that. People back home were like, what are you talking about? But they were just so self-confident, right? So besides the money and besides all the skills, like just even that mentality of I can do with enough work ethic, I can do whatever I want in my life and make it happen. And that's, you can't really buy that.
Can't buy that. No, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's cool to hear. That's good that that's what they're taking from this, because then the dollars and cents you make during college, which you're going to blow on, keg beer and whatever, sneakers and, cars, whatever. I mean, I can tell you what I blew it on, but it was gone, poof. But it was also like MBA money at the time. I was like, what? Because I was living on $500 a semester. Now, not trying to age myself, but I am. $500 a semester. I mean, that's when there was nickel taps. Like we knew the bar, like we knew every special from free food to whatever. So $500 just stretched. So when you're making 50 grand, I don't remember how much we made, but it felt like 50 grand if it wasn't. It was like, wow, this will never run out.
It's forever. Yeah. Yeah, man, that's crazy. Anyway, hey, let me ask you about this. So what happened? So you 01, what catches up in the last 20 years? Because I feel like you have some really cool things that you've been up to. So catch us up on the stories since Southwestern, and what are you up to now?
So like skip past this. So I sold in 2001. Well, okay. Right. So here's just so everyone understands. And I was up for, to be a manager. It was Evelyn Holmquist it was her and I were selected to be, and I don't know what her last name is now, but used to be Evelyn Holmquist. Her and I were selected out of our team to be the managers. And that's like a shoe-in, right? Like you do not walk away from that opportunity. But the problem is that I was a geology major. Like, I don't even know why. You know what I mean? Like to this day, everyone's like, do you love rocks? Do you love archaeology? I'm like, nope, I don't really care for either one of those things. I don't know. I just checked the box. And so I got into these classes and they were just boring. And I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with this. Like, imagine being in classes about the thing you're supposed to go into and you're already bored and you're 19 years old. Not a good move. So, so I switched and got into business, but I wasn't smart enough to get a business degree. I mean, hell, I barely graduated high school. So I was just pumped to get into a college. And the reason I got into UND is because my grades is because it flooded in 97 and I graduated high school in 99. So they're like, please come.
We'll take anybody.
We'll accept you. Please just come. And I was like, sweet. Because I was like the first kid in all of my family. And by all my family, I mean my entire, like the Italian tribe, hundreds of us, to go to college. I was the first kid to go to college. And I just got in by deep, like it was kind of like, marginal error. But anyway, I got in.
It's like the way they select book kids. It's like, you want to come do this craziness? Please.
Yeah, come. We need you. So, you have 2 eyes and 4 appendages, that'll work. And so that's how I got into college. But anyway, so I got into there, checked a box that said geology, realized nope, and then had to switch a major. So that's one of the reasons. I mean, the second reason it was hard as hell. Like, let's not kid ourselves. So it wasn't, and I grew up in a lake. So it was like wakeboarding, catching a tan, summer loving, or, going to Appalachia, Ohio, getting bit by dogs, getting a couple guns pulled on me and, grinding it out, sleeping in an attic, Anyway, so it was like, let me see. And I kind of had to if I wanted to graduate. So it was kind of a twofer, but, then got into communications, which was a poor man or a dumb man. That was our business degree. So it was basically marketing. So I got into marketing. And people think, oh, you're being hard on yourself. No, when NHL players come and they're only in town for 2 years and they're all in your classes, your comm classes, they are not there to get an education. They are there to just, what's the easiest
Play
degree
hockey.
there is, and to keep me above a sea level so I can just go to the NHL. That's when you know you might be in it in the dum-dum class. And I was fine with that because I didn't have time to learn anything. I just was like, just skip me through. But anyway, so marketing was my major. So marketing, and then I also love music. Played music since I was about 15 years old. No, 14 or 15 years old. And I wrote songs, was in bands. That's another story. But played music until I got married, really, 30, like professionally. So I was about 32. And so that love for music got me booking. I was the music chair at UND. So I got a chance, University of North Dakota. And so I got a chance to book all the acts that came through. So I had a chance to book like coffee shop acts, but Matt Nathanson, like we had, some people that went on to become stars, a bunch of other people I can't remember, but we booked Sugar Ray, which you can't pay me to listen to today. We Blues Traveler, which is cool because I play harmonica. We did, Violent Femmes. Like we had a bunch of bands that were big at the time. And then because of that, I got to work with agents. And so a couple agents were like, hey, I like your style. You're on time. Thanks to Southwestern. You're on time. You always, like you're like working with a little professional. And then they brought me on. So one of the agencies hired me. I call the Auburn Moon Agency. I don't know if they're still around. Hired me to be an entertainment agent out in Manhattan. And
New York?
Yeah. So I went from
there's Kansas.
Oh yeah,
there's Manhattan, Kansas, which is closer.
But no, not New that York one. Yeah, the New York one. And I remember how they recruited me. They were like, so you grew up in a town. I had 52 kids in my class in Holly, and that's not a private school. That's literally all the 9th graders in that area town. And so it's all of us. And so it's it's a small town. And then I went to Grand Forks, which 40,000 people, I think, or whatever, a small town. And I don't even know if that was that big at the time, to Manhattan. And so that was kind of a change. And they recruited me because they brought me down to Times Square. I'll never forget it, man. Like we drove by it, like you just kind of cruised through it, and you can hear the if you guys have ever been there, you know what I'm talking about, and the buzz. Yeah. And so we spent the entire night, like I was maybe 18. And I didn't even sleep. We went out. It was awesome. And I said yes. And then when I got there, the agency was based in Rockland County, which is, if you ever seen Sopranos, it's that drive that they take over the George Washington Bridge from Manhattan to Rockland County, which is upstate, they call it. 45 minutes across the bridge is upstate, apparently. You're not in New York City anymore, by the way. Just don't even claim that you are. I learned that one. But so we take the Palisades and we drive to Rockland County. And so whenever we go down into the city to watch acts, my boss was like, I don't like to drive. So can you drive? So I remember dropping down, and it was like you go across the GW Bridge and you got sink right into Manhattan, not Times Square, but like right into Manhattan. Like you went from dude, to this day
drive. It's amazing.
Well, yeah, and imagine like never learn how to parallel park, because like why would you, or growing up learn how to drive on gravel roads, and you know what I mean, and 2-lane. Yeah. Oh my God. To this day, I still have nightmares of it. It just drops
you in the middle of the city. You're like, good luck.
Oof.
And you're in the city. Yeah.
And people are like potholes, and people are walking and don't care. And people are honking, and there's people whipping their doors open. And so that was my first job out of college. And then they transferred us. They moved the agency to Philly, where I did a little stint there. But Philly, I didn't move across country to live in Philly. Let's just leave it at that, Right. So then I came back to Minnesota. I moved to the Twin Cities and then got a job. Thanks to, honestly, Southwestern, I could go on, and I don't work for Southwestern, but like if I did, I'd be pumping this up just the same. This gig got me, one summer's got me so many jobs, especially in the beginning. Yeah. So I went to work for Verizon, and then I got promoted right away. So they're like, do you want to stay in the Twin Cities, which I'd never lived in at the time, or do you want to go to Denver? I was like, why not go to Denver? Cool. Like I'm single, like I'm young, I'm in my 20s, like why not? So I went to Denver for a handful of years, and that was awesome. And then I went to Denver, worked for Verizon, and I learned I applied the skills really, like you talk about pre-approach. It was an outside field gig, and it was selling advertisement, like Yellow Page advertising and like Google ads before that was a thing, when people are like, this internet thing, website, schmibsite. No joke. I can't tell you how many people I'm like, well, so I don't think the internet's going to go away, just based on logic, and so therefore I think maybe a website could be a good idea. Nope. And so I had to, overcome that. But I hit President's Club. That was my second President's Club, because I hit Gold Sealed Gold, and got to go to the Sizzler and whatever in my first summer. I don't know what they call it President's Club, but they called it
What was it?
Yeah, it was President's Club. Okay, yeah, there you go. It was President's Club. So my first President's Club was Southwestern. My second was Verizon. And we were talking about this earlier, but you start getting kind of a taste of like, well, maybe I am good at this, validated by my peers. And then I went on a tear after that. So then I moved back to the cities because my old bandmates from college were getting back together, and they're like, we should be in a band. And I was like, you know what? I should give up a fantastic career, a deeply rooted community that I've built here, a snowboard pass that I use 3 times a week, and 2 little places that I, kind of have in Denver, and one in Silverthorne that I share with my mates. That makes perfect sense because of the longevity that we're going to be in this band, right, boys? They're like, mm-hmm. So then I moved, and one of the guys gets a job in Australia like 6 months after I leave everything to come back to the cities to join this band. But it worked out because we played some great shows. I got into a different band once I got into software sales, and then I met my wife. So after Verizon, I recruited for like a hot minute during 2008, 2009, like a genius. I moved back, and then the market tanked, and I was recruiting. So clearly no one was hiring, but I wanted a job where I could, kind of network quick. And that is where I realized the network of the Southwestern, because I became the Southwestern guy for a hot minute. People were like, hey, you sell books, I sell books. Can you help get me a job? Short answer, no, I can't, because no one's hiring because we're in a recession. But, I got to befriend a lot of these cats. And then because of that, I got to befriend guys that my old DSM from way back in the day that then got me into software sales. So then what happened was, because I was a grinder and put myself in some credit card debt, living in Manhattan for sure, and a little bit of Denver, because why not? Layer it on a little bit. Young. Like, yeah, why not? Who doesn't need a little credit card debt to wake you up? Yeah. Learn that one. And so got into software sales, and what I was known for, what I did was just taking, like, basically I was like, where's the highest commission rate? I don't care what it is. I'll sell, as long as I'll sell anything legal. Is meth legal in North Dakota? I'll sell whatever. And so they got me in these dumpy territories that had really high commissions, but the product lines or whatever wasn't working out. And I got really good at, they call me a cleaner. Like, I'd come in and I'd just flip these territories, and then I'd make commission, and then I'd get called from the next company. And then, that happened 3 times. So I went to work for Concur, then Ryan Padgett and Rich Strobel and a couple of those other cats, or not Rich Strobel, who's that? Another bookseller over at Oracle, pulled me out of Concur, got me into Oracle. I worked for Nick Trulin. I worked for a bunch of booksellers underneath, killed it. I mean, killed it, dude. Like, when I say killed it, some of the best financial years of my life, and paid off all my debt in droves. I bought a bunch of real estate properties on the drop because it was still 2010. Had a really good run, then got sniped up by IBM, worked for another bookseller, and a handful of them. Did really well there, and then it got to the point where debt was paid off. We had our dream house on the lake. We had a bunch of passive income streams, and so we quit, and then started my first company. We've had 6, 2 we don't talk about, like Fight Club, because they were massively unsuccessful. But 4 of them, 2 product companies, 1 CPG company or CBD company, 1 CPG company, which was a soft roof rack. They actually won us best outdoor product in Men's Journal in 2015 or 16, I think. And then then a media company called Closers Media, and then this consulting company that's been very loose for many years, about 8 years. It's always been there to kind of support whatever wild hair gets up my butt, and then we've just been consulting lately on companies that either have stalled, kind of like the product lines I was telling you about, companies that have stalled, or they're just kind of people start a business, and 2-3 years later they've cashed out the friends and family plan, and they're looking for that boost. And then so we help them put into kind of the marketing kind of systems and playbooks and so on that will help connect them with conversations that they couldn't find on their own. And then I'm also a business broker. So if people choose to sell their business, whether they want to cash out early, or they're at the end of their line and they want to sell off and leave a legacy of financial gain for their family or themselves, we can help them with that too. So that's what I'm doing in between snowboarding and loving it out in Whitefish, Montana.
That's not bad. That's pretty sweet. Question for you. So talk about the businesses, and two we don't have to talk about because they're like Fight Club. But I feel like you also, from what you learned from them, that's probably worth a lot as well. Like that learning from the failure of a business is really like beneficial for the other four, I guess. But in your mind, when you start up a business, that's different than just selling books door to door. You know, what are some of the like tricks, not tricks, I shouldn't say tricks, tips or biggest things do you need to know if you're going to launch your own business that in your mind? Like I always ask that for people.
They're similar in the ways though that you basically run your own business. So there was a time when I was immature and a fellow bookseller, Nature Borg, who's fantastic, ran.
We're recording with him on Wednesday.
He's a dear friend of mine, like dear friend. So say hi to him for me. I just did. Told him I was going to be in I actually said, man, I'm going to, if they take suggestions for guests, I will be suggesting you. He goes, oh, funny thing. They got me. I said, perfect. We're both Ripley fans. So, Ripley kind of is yeah. But, so there's similar in the fact that you do run your business, but I was telling Nate, they were back in the day when I was starting my own little companies from scratch, thinking I was, above, which isn't true. I've learned. And he was like, well, I run my own business too. I'm like, yeah, but you kind of got it's kind of like out of the box. And he reprimanded me and said, well, there's no such thing. And I would say that with Southwestern is you learn how to run your own finances. One of the biggest things when it comes to running a business is all the unsexy work, which makes unsexy businesses sexy. So I have a buddy they just got a $60 million, I won't say his name because everyone will know him, but $60 million round in funding. They run a tech startup, and he doesn't need that. Like he's at a point where revenue's coming in, and he owns a laundromat. He owns like this, like plumbing supply thing. He owns like a janitor company or whatever. He's like, if I could go back, I would never have gotten involved in this tech startup. He's like, because you don't get paid. He's like, I'm not getting paid until someone like we IPO or someone buys us. He goes, where money is made is in these non-sexy businesses. And the non-sexy part is operations, and it's AR, AP, it's accounts receivable, it's accounts payable. You know what I mean? It's all it's the unsexy stuff that makes sexy, because everyone finds bottom line sexy. Everyone finds revenue growth sexy, right? But they don't understand how do we get there. And so we are more on the marketing, and I hate to say revenue growth, but it is revenue growth side of things. But one of the things that we definitely focus on is internal operations. Because I'm a business broker, that's the first thing I look at is to say, well, we want to double our revenue in 2 years. Can you help us there? Well, let's get under the hood and understand your P&L right now. Like, let's understand. I mean, like, who doesn't want to triple your revenue? Like, who doesn't want to make $50 million? But if you're only you're at an EBITDA of 1.5 and you're bringing in $7 million of revenue, something's wrong. Well, depending on the business that you're in, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so, okay, so you asked a similar question. I'm going way too deep. Anyway, let me start at the beginning.
No. But this is great because I'm glad you're talking about this, because this is the kind of shit that when people leave Southwestern and they go to start their own companies, and they're like, oh, it's easy. You just got to go work 80 hours a week. And it's like, yeah, but what are you like this? Even something as simple as like starting an LLC, which is not sexy to even say, right? To something more complicated, like creating all these systems for your revenue and for how to make sure that you're scaling correctly and not too fast, but not too slow. And this is all really, really good stuff. Let me
start at the beginning then, because you said something interesting. So, and people, there's the how, I build a business, and where, and people forget the where part. Now, something people don't realize, there's a great book called Tax-Free Income. It's by Tom Holland. It's the guy who does Robert Kiyosaki's. If you know Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's a must-read book, and it's actually interesting. I know taxes don't sound interesting to people, but they do if you're in business, because it's P&L and taxes. That's really all that. Yeah. When selling a business, they don't care about your logo or your foosball tables. They don't care about any of that. They're like, what's your, you know what I mean? That's what the bottom line, and it has to do, because taxes tell a lot. Like, are you good with your, because some people, like, when your taxes are too low, that means you're just doing under the table deals. I'm not touching that, because I'm not going to go down with you, like,
the shoe's going to fall. The shoe's going to drop. And
I'm all about like taking advantage of our tax code, which, by the way, legally was built for the pioneer, or they call us now entrepreneurs, but it was built for that. The government doesn't create jobs. The government doesn't hand build houses. The government doesn't build anything. And I can go on about what I feel about the government, but I won't, to save some friends here. But
I'm with you.
But they don't do anything. And so since they don't do anything, they need people that do. And so there's a bunch of tax advantages to starting a company. So when we start with LLC, right? So the first thing people do is, I've got an idea. Now I'm a domain collector, and that's a problem. I wouldn't suggest that. But I'm also, I've been an LLC collector too. I don't do that anymore. Well, or any less, I should say. But I've got our holding company. That's been the one that's been around forever. Is because immediately when you start LLCing, now, as long as you can tie it back to the business, it is a write-off. Write-off is not what, because not Costanza, Kramer says, where you can just write everything off. I wrote off $6,000 glass side Minnesota Wild Blackhawk tickets my first year in business. And my CPA and my wife both like swung back and collectively kicked me in the balls, because it was like, I thought you could write it off. I just thought it was like free.
No,
it wasn't free at all. Like, it was so wrong. So anyway, lesson learned from me, your Uncle Mickey over here, just don't do that. But it's good to because, and then you use a thing like Genius Scan. I want to give another bookseller props. Rich Strobel, very good at collecting stuff. He's very good at ops, and especially financial ops. He taught me that. So, you make all your receipts good. So you file them quarterly. Very easy to do. You can do it from your phone. If you're taking a picture of your kids right now with your camera, you can take pictures of your receipts and all the things. And you have 3 years of loss. Like, you could make no money for 3 years and bring all of this to your tax man and say, hey, here's $10,000 worth of expenses. Well, that's $10,000 worth on your tax bill now, which people that pay a lot of taxes, like you and I do, that's a chunk of change, and that's money back, and that's important. So that's like setting it up. The LLC is the most important thing. It is good to get a CPA. I wouldn't go cheap on that. People want to do TurboTax.
No,
sorry, go ahead.
No, huge point. Some life advice that someone gave me based on what you just said. Sorry to cut you there. So we're the Ponytails podcast. We have an LLC, but you can't ever pay too much for an accountant or for a lawyer, because they pay for themselves eventually.
All right, I'll tell you about one of the failures, and I'll get back to the how. Okay,
yes,
because this will wrap up the where is the simple setup. So I had an attorney, a good attorney, that was $500 an hour, and I just hired her because I'd never built a software platform before. I'd sold software but never built one, and so we were going to build a company called Greta. I don't even know if it's still around. Greta.co, Greta. Whatever. I don't know what's out there anymore, but so we designed this. So I'll just tell you about the one that I don't talk about, Fight Club fans. So is we built this software company because we had one of our streams of our businesses was referral, like affiliate-based marketing, they call it now, but it used to be referral programs. And it was for our recruiting arm. So we had a recruiting arm, and anyone that, kicked us a hiring manager or some talent or whatever, we would give them, let's say $1,000, if they got placed per person, right? And then vice versa, we had people would hire us to say, hey, if you can kick us some business, happy to pay. Well, it was all on a spreadsheet. And my assistant at the time, Susie, was like, this is nuts. She's like, I'm sick of handling this. I'm sick of collecting. So we thought, all right, let's build a software program around that. Okay. So we built the software program, and I'm a non-tech guy talking with technical people. And I'm like, I should talk to my attorney at some point, just to check in. She's $500 an hour. We spend about $150,000 on that technical software. And this is the MVP, mind you, the base version of this software.
Yeah.
And I went to meet with her, and I said, hey, I don't know if this works right. I just want you to check it out. And she's like, yeah, no, you built an illegal product because, and I'm not going to bore you with the details. You're not a bank. So you can't hold funds like a bank because you have to be certified in all 50 states and blah, 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 blah. So she's like, I hope you didn't spend a lot of money on this, because you're going to have to redo it. And I was like, funny thing, I spent $150,000 on it, and I didn't want to pay you $500 to get this information. And she said, well, then you just spend 150,000, whatever. She just threw in her fee to that. And that was the end of that. And it never happened. So we spent that money, it just went poof. And that wasn't awesome. But lesson learned for you guys.
Rough.
Yeah, wow, it is what it is. You can't take it with you, right? But lesson learned was, okay, that's the first thing I'm going to do is my CPA and my attorney are going to be a part of any initial conversations before we sign an internal ops agreement, or even if it's just a solopreneur, venture, just to make sure that our contracts and everything are tight. And yeah, you might have to invest $1,000 into it. People always say you can go and get an LLC for $110 and that's it. That's the most expensive $110 you're going to spend because you're not going to do anything with it because you actually haven't invested any money. You lock down a name that you don't understand isn't trademarked. You think it is because you got an LLC, but that's not the same thing.
No, it's not.
And then you're never going to pursue it because it was too cheap. But the second you actually put a business plan together and you get these people involved, your business plan lights up, right? It just lights up. It like becomes reality. And all of a sudden you got something.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're waiting for the trademark to come through for the Ponytails podcast. Yeah. Trademark and LLC and I'm waiting for it.
Do you know what the poor man's hack is of that? I don't know if I should share it out loud. Should I share it?
I mean, it's up to you. But we had to wait 6 to 8 months before we hear back because they're all backed up because of.
Oh, so you'll get it then. All right. Well, then I feel totally cool seeing this. If you ever see a TM, like you see like TM buy something, but it doesn't have a circle around it, that's somebody who understands that you can put that in there legally and can't get in trouble for it. That is not trademarked. Whatever that is next to it is not trademarked.
Yeah. Okay.
We did it all the time in the beginning when we didn't have enough money to pay for trademarks. People taught us, someone taught us this. Oh, yeah. It's like the most expensive of all things, but it's worth it because once you got it, you're bulletproof. Because we had that so we trademarked everything with Closers Media, coffee and closers. We had, at the time we had everything. It was like cocktails and closers. We had the whole thing and we trademarked everything. And we had Closers Community. So all these things are trademarked and people tried to steal it, especially at the height of it. Cause it was, I think I told you in the prep was the number one produced show of its kind at the time. So people were coming at us from all angles because they're like, clearly these guys are small. And we were, but we were legally protected. And that was after the Greta thing. That was after that software program that bombed. So I'm like, well, live and learn. I'm not going to skimp on this. But anyway, that's kind of the beginning. But the thing about growing a business, if you're listening, is get your stuff set up and do what Andres and I were talking about. But most importantly, you've just got to identify, like, don't do this for you. You have to identify that I have found something that people are struggling with. And I've seen it in my daily life. Not like I think about it, and that works too, but not that I dream it up or I think people are struggling with it, but I'm a expert in the struggles that they're facing. And this could be like, I don't know, you work in construction and you see people always dropping their hammers and their stuff because they don't have the right belt. I mean, you can invent a business in any situation, but the ones that I've seen succeed the most, and granted, we've consulted now probably 50 to acquisition, one to IPO, so on and so forth. So we've seen a lot of businesses in flux. And the one thing I've seen work the most is when someone comes from a hospital or they come from the construction industry or insurance industry or whatever, and they're like, this is something I saw every single day and no one is facing it. Client that we just had, Endpoint Utility, they do managed IT services. So like, your phone goes down, your computer goes down, you're a solopreneur, you're a real estate agent, whatever. Who do you call? Nobody. Like you got to Google it, whatever. You're on your own. These guys. So
how to fix it? Yeah.
These guys were going past. They came from big enterprise, which is Fortune 500 companies or whatever, and they were like, we're going to build. I'm going to take all my knowledge from my experience at this big corporation, and I'm going to build a smaller version of this, and I'm going to do better. And that's what everyone thinks. Like, and there's a book called The E-Myth that will squash that to say you're a technician. You shouldn't be building a business around your technical skill set. You should learn how to build a business and then introduce your technical skill set. Just because you can do something well doesn't mean that people, how to run a business or you're willing to buy it. People are willing to buy it. So anyway, that was case in point with Endpoint. So they came and they're like, we're really good at all this stuff. But I'm like, well, why are they going to pick you over insert your competitor? Well, we're better and we're smarter and we're better looking and whatever. And it's like, well, that's not real. I'm like, who in your experience did you see that just got washed to the side? They're like, well, who it was. No one's going after entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, real estate agents, title companies, property managers, individuals who are on their own island, insurance people, go on, mortgage brokers going on. And I'm like, well, why don't we go after them? And they're like, well, we got to figure out how to price it. So they figured out how to price it. And that's exactly what we went after. And it was the fastest build I've ever seen. Like, it was 6 months and we got them to that point. And now they're killing it because they're actually going after like a blue sky, a blue ocean of possibility, because no one was going after this market. And they saw these people get washed to the curb, meaning they'd have interviews and they'd have intake and they'd have inbound people call in. And then they go, oh, how many people do you have working for you? Oh, you're a one-person shop. No, thank you. You don't qualify. It was over and over and over. And I'm like, dude, who's helping these people? I'm like, there are more of these people than corporations by 10x, 100x. It's nobody's helping them. There's just people sitting there waiting for someone to help, and you could be that person. What are you doing? And so we repivoted their business to go after those exact people, and they're killing it now. And that's just one example. And so when you think about how should I build my business, or how, there has to be a why. Don't build it for you, build it for them, and be an expert in the challenges that you face. And then your technical prowess will set in. But if you lead with your technical prowess and just try and go and compete with IBM or Oracle or Wells Fargo or whoever, you're just going to get murdered. Just go after the niches of the riches. Our riches are in the niches. Sorry, riches are in the niches. And the unsexy business wins. All right, that tangent over, man. I'm sorry. It went long.
No, that was good. That was great advice. That's great advice. There's a lot of really good stuff. And, why, what, how, where? Like, there's so many questions that need to be answered. The book, Start With Why, Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. And it's a great book, and you need that. Everybody should read that book. But also, you start with why, but you also need to you start with why, but then step 1.1 is how. 1.2 is who, right? Sure, 1.0 is why, but it doesn't mean you don't answer all the other questions. And that's a good piece of advice. Just get all your bases together. We when we started this show and we started making money, we made sure our legal stuff was correct. And there's still stuff that we need to, we're still working on, right? It evolves and the show changes as it progresses and it grows. But especially for the nature of what we do, where it's like, we shouldn't be getting in trouble. And if we do, we got to be prepared for some reason. You got to make sure that your bases are covered, because you never know who's going to come and try to take advantage of you for not covering your bases. So that's a good start. But then also, like you said, just understand what you're doing, understand the product, understand your market. Who are you overlooking? Yeah, I love it. I love that stuff. The question I always like to ask is how would I put myself out of business? If I started
I like that.
How would I beat me?
Huh.
I love thinking about that. And then it's like, okay, then that's what we need to work on.
Well, and that's important, right? Because how do you put yourself out of business? You show up on time. You keep your promises. You exceed above and beyond and ahead of schedule, right? You wrap up and ask for the referral while the iron's hot. You ask for suggestion. I mean, these are things that we did learn, knocking on doors. Is just people forget them, and they think, door knocking and selling books for an old company that's been around, and by old I mean with respect. If one out of 10 businesses last more than for the first year, and then it gets worse than that after that. You think, oh, that statistic's terrible. Yeah, well, it's worse after that, because then they splice up the percentage. So you got a company that's been around for hundreds of years. Learn from them, and they're doing something right. And that's what they taught us those things. You show up on time, you show up sharp, well dressed, take your cold shower,
prepared.
Yes, be prepared. I still have the coin. I can't be the only one that's still. Okay, good. I'm not nuts here. Well, my daughter has it right now. She has it. It's somewhere in the house, but I was carrying it around for a long time when I was out in the field, and those things never go away.
We were doing our derby meeting. It's like we get our jockeys, our sponsors together, and they share this kind of wisdom. And Alicia Huck just pulls out her, telescopic pen.
Yeah,
that's gold. And she still had her coin. It was awesome. It was like, that's the stuff. That's the stuff. Oh my god!
And the advantage for these kids is if you're fresh. Sorry, I know you gotta go to cut to commercial. If you're one of these kids right now, and sorry, when I say kids, I mean with all respect. I'm just I'm playing the dad card here, but
they are kids.
Yeah. Well, I was called a kid too,
they're 18, 20 years old. Yeah, they're kids.
Tough enough. Take the freshness of this experience and maximize it. I still remember this, and I'm 42 years old. Like I still remember this. That was 20 years ago I was doing this, and I still remember these things, but I got to pull a little bit from the old brain and be like, wait a minute, and talking to you really rekindles a lot of this stuff. But like, if you're living it right now and you can't sell till next summer and you've got 9 months in between, you'd be nuts not to try an online business or learn how to swing trade, or, you're buying your computer anyway. Like why not learn these skills and light an LLC up and resell books, or I don't even know if kids use the books anymore, but like whatever, sell stuff on
at the very
Facebook
least,
Marketplace or eBay.
About all this stuff. At the very least, study up on this stuff, right? This is the
kind of
stuff that you won't. Yeah, like go read a book. We've mentioned at least 3 or 4 books alone in the last hour. That it's like just go read those things and then make your brain richer. At least.
Totally.
At least.
And you got the time, because I'll tell you right now, you start pumping out kids, and you get businesses cooking, and you got snowboarding, which is a 3-month distraction that I'm fully committed to. You don't have time to read all these books that I used to. So not take time. This is the time for that. This is the time you build. This is the time you produce, and then you kick it when you're in your 40s like me. You know what I mean? If you do it right.
So that way, by the time you're in your 40s, you're already ahead. You'd be ahead of Mickeli.
People are waiting for those 60s for retirement. I just disagree with that. I disagree.
So, let's do it earlier. Yeah, for sure. Have you, so for you, like what's the goal? Like what's the future? What's the next 5-10 years look like for you? What's the
that's a good question, because I struggle with this. I told my family I was going to cool it a little bit when we moved out here. And then I did. I took all of 2021 off. We took the whole year off, and we went to all the parks, man, like Yellowstone, Custer, Needles. Like we did all the stuff, crushed our community here, and Whitefish got super involved. And then I happened to go to a cider works place, and there was a business owner there, and that was Endpoint Utility. So I told myself, that was December though, so it wasn't 2022 technically. And it was one of those situations where I could help. So why I have to. But I think the future is a version of, so we take our summers off. That's something that we do. So we take summers off. We go back to Minnesota and enjoy the lakes for half of that. The other half, we're here in the Flathead Valley, which is a Glacier National Park area. So we really enjoy that. So we do that. We don't travel during ski season, which on Big Mountain is between a little after Thanksgiving till about April, give or take. So we don't do any traveling then, unless it's like we try to not do work. So we have those, I would say 6 months of kind of, where we're here. And then outside of that, I try and help businesses grow. And one of those businesses is my daughter. She's not technically a business. She is a human being. But yes, she's got just a curiosity for making money. She she likes to buy money. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we figure out ways for her to make $5 here, $10 here. And I can go through those ways, but, she'll earn it or she'll make it through various avenues. And then let's go buy some money. So we'll buy a mid-cap ETF, or we'll buy something, a stock or something that has some trajectory that, pretty safe, that all of a sudden turns into that $30 turns into $40 or whatever. And it's a nominal amount, but for her, she's like, I did not do anything to make that extra $10, Daddy. And she's a spreadsheet junkie. By spreadsheet, she makes her own. So you want to talk about a computer idiot? That's me. So I'm not going to teach her how to actually do spreadsheets. She's got uncles for that. But she's really good at that kind of stuff. And she likes to see her money go to work for her. And she's 7. So like, we take Fridays off. We used to. She's got to go to school now on Fridays, but we try and take time off, and so I steal her from Fridays a lot, and we'll just go and we'll get in the lab, and we'll be like, all right, what kind of ideas did you see? I want her to be aware of her surroundings, like at school, like what are kids talking about that that they're struggling with, pencils breaking. I mean, just little things like, okay, is there some opportunity there? And we don't build these businesses a lot per se, because she's still a kid, right? She'll get bored and want to go, watch it like Wild Kratts or whatever. But we try and just, even if I get 5 minutes every time, to get her mind thinking like that. So I would say the future for me right now is to make sure that we still have our winter, which is important to us. Our summers are in flux, right? Like this last summer, we went home for half the summer. I don't think we'll do that again. Summers here are great, and it's just a long time to be living out of a suitcase. But we'll kind of, we'll find it. We'll find that, whatever that means, if it's a month or 2 months or whatever. But as far as professionally, what I'm really passionate about right now is I love to build communities. So as I told you earlier, and I can't expect anyone here to know this, but we built a thing called Closers Community. It was under closersmedia.com, still exists. I'm not super active in it as much as I used to be, but we ran it was the largest privately independent produced shows at the time. And by show, I mean, it was a podcast, but it was actually a live show. So the podcast was a byproduct of it. And the show was a live show. So we had it in theaters. We partnered with like WeWork and big, large co-working spaces. We had couches. It was like a Tonight Show for sales professionals. Got a chance to feature some great sellers, booksellers that is on it. And that lasted about 4 years. COVID did kill that because the state of Minnesota decided to, we'll just say, overreact and do as much research.
I live in Oregon, so I understand.
Oh, dude. Well, then you know what I'm talking about. Like,
I know what you're talking about.
Then you know where I'm at. Okay, so Whitefish, we have more refugees, they call them, like Seattle, Portland, Twin Cities, California, people just leaving these places that just handled that like bullshit. And some of them are apologizing for it, but a lot of them aren't. They're like, deal. And it's like, no, dude, you ruined our business. Like you took our business from us. It was the joy of my life and you took it. I will not forgive you for that. So we moved and we're like, we'll take our tax dollars elsewhere and we're going to build something right here. I love building communities and I love helping companies grow. So I'm going to build a community here called True North Revival. And we haven't launched it yet. And actually, this is kind of a spoiler, but we're building it right now. And what it's going to be is it's going to be a celebration of ordinary people living extraordinary lives. And they do this via building businesses around the life that they want to live, the time they want to spend working, the time they want to spend doing other things. And this is targeted for people that are like a community to build around people that are doing this because it is lonely. Taking Fridays off is, believe it or not, to go swings, to go hit the links. You gotta like call people out of work. It's lonely. But there's way more of us than people think. And then there's people that want this life and they want to know how. And the whole deal with the community is we are going deep. So we're going to launch a show. So we're going to have a podcast, do a show just like we did before. I don't know how live it's going to be in the beginning. We're going to do retreats. We're going to do the whole thing. But it's meant to attract these people to a sphere of influence to say, hey, I'm doing it. Here's exactly how I'm doing it. Here's my pivot point when I left. Here's why I left. Here's what I do now. Here's the pains and challenges that I solve. Here's the business that I built. Oh, by the way, here's how I afford this life. Because when I was on tour this last summer, because we were across like 5 states, like we just kicked it. It was awesome. But I'm not saying it wasn't. I miss Montana. You know what I mean? Because it's a long time to be gone.
It's so nice up there. I've been to Whitefish. It's beautiful.
Come on anytime. I know where you're at, dude. Just pop on over. I'd love to host you, especially if you're a snowboarder. Like
I've never been snowboarding.
Oh, I just taught my 7-year-old. So if I can teach her, I can teach you. You're an athletic chap. We'll rip. We'll do it at your pace. But where's I going? Shoot, I lost.
So you're building communities. You're starting a podcast.
Yeah. So we're doing this because we want people that have the experience. And there's a lot of us, especially out here. I mean, there's no industry here. Like you live in Whitefish because you can. And so the people that I've befriended have fascinating stories. But when I was on tour, like when I say tour, like we were on, the summer deal, people would sit down, they go, so, what are you doing? And they don't care. They don't care what we're doing. They care. How are you here right now? And it's Tuesday and I'm 67 and you're 42 and your wife is 39. And you have 2 kids. Like, how are you here? They want to know how we afford it. That's what everyone wanted to know. They don't really care what we do. They wouldn't understand half of it anyway. You think my 67-year-old railroad, uncles are going to be like, oh, e-com, drop ship. I see. CPG. They don't know. They don't care, but they're like, how do you afford this? And so we want to make sure that there's a big component of it to say, here's how people afford it. Here's how they charge. Here's how they protect. Here's how they grow. Here's how they make money work for them. Here's how they do this. Because if there's a formula that we have found for people that live the way that we do, and Nature Borg will go in detail about this. His story is fascinating. Is it's not as glamorous as people think. You don't just go and buy Lamborghinis and crap that you don't need. You do live frugally, but you live through experience. Like for us, true wealth is freedom. True wealth is freedom to go and see my parents at their age and my in-laws at their age. And I'm not saying they're going to kick the bucket anytime soon, but they're not trending upward. We'll say that.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're trending older.
It's anything. It's
Thought it'd be respectful, right? Like
likely they're going to die. This life.
I've heard that happens to people. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Like this death thing. Yeah.
I don't know. It's, you don't see many 200-year-olds anymore.
No, not anymore. That was
like 70, you're already like, all right, man.
They still got them in the blue zones, don't they? Isn't that the blue zones where they got 200, people living to their 150? You know that? That's a book you got to read. That's some crazy stuff. But anyway, it's healthy living that I will never live up to. So even if there was a blue zone that I was smack dab in the middle of it, I will find myself a Mickey D's. That is a fact.
Yeah.
So,
or even like, I mean, you've seen 80. I don't want to be 80. When people yell at, when Tom Segura talks about this, like when you're so old that people yell at you for trying to help, like I'm gonna take like, sit down. What are you, crazy? Like that's too old. Like
that's too old. I'm with you. I always told everyone, I'm like, I want to go out on a high. And now like my daughter's 7 going on 17. She's like, and I don't mean that in a bratty way. I mean, she's actually just her mind is so sharp. Like I don't remember. I mean, her mind is sharper at 7 than mine is today. It ever was. But I tell her, I'm like, Daddy's gonna go in a blaze of glory. She's like, what does that mean? I like, we joke a lot, so I hope she doesn't ruin her. Like, it's like one of these. She just go to a psychologist later in life. But I'm like, oh, Daddy's gonna go like skydiving. I'm gonna go squirrel zipping. I go, honey, if I get cancer, if I get anything that's gonna take you kids down, I got a big ass life insurance. I'm like, you cash that out, and Daddy's gonna go out like a legend. I'm like, I'm gonna go punch a grizzly bear straight in the face. I'm like, I don't know what it is, but my funeral is gonna be dope because people aren't gonna talk about how I sucked everyone's happiness dry the last 3 years of my life. With a blaze of glory.
We're on the same page, my friend. For me, it's like my biggest scary way of going is like Alzheimer's.
Oh,
just forget.
Have you ever seen it? You've obviously seen it. I've seen terrible.
It. Oh yeah, it's fucking awful. Like the minute I get diagnosed with that, God forbid, but if I get diagnosed with that, I'll be like, all right, here we go. So,
dude, and depression.
We're going to space, and then I'm going to jump off and just remember. I'm going to die remembering. Because
are you going to? Okay, so I got to ask you a question now. This is a serious question.
Yeah.
You say you're going to jump off of space. Like, space it's like the cloud. People go, the cloud isn't a place, right? The cloud is someone else's servers. Yeah. So when you say that, you're going to jump into space, or you're going to jump like from the moon? Like what does that mean?
Atmosphere. Ooh. And then I will catch. Have you seen that guy? He's got the record for like highest like skydive jump. He like literally was on a 7 almost, and then he jumps.
Did I yell?
No, it's all good. I want to do that, but no parachute. Straight like
into
the ocean.
Yes.
I have an anchor on me, so I just
I'm thinking actually at that height, I don't think you're going to have to worry about like nose planting in the bottom of the pool. I think I don't know this, but what's the height where like you just smash like if the water was concrete? You know what I mean? Like the Golden Gate Bridge.
It's not too much higher than It's like, but like to die on top of the world. You're like coming down. You're like, this is it. That'd be a good way to go. You just don't want it to hurt. It's just so high off the ground that when you hit the water or when you hit the ground, it's like there's no time for you to even realize, ouch. You're just going, and then it's over.
Yeah.
This got really morbid really quick, but the point is, that's still better than like not remembering like your wife, or whatever. That'd be so sad. Or cancer.
Or just being an asshole, sucks. Just constantly being an asshole, and you have no idea why no one likes you. And then you blame them. You
don't remember.
Because you don't remember being an asshole. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're dying. That's the worst. Yeah. So the point is, I understand. Blaze of glory. Don't want to be too old.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, my friend.
Like a blaze of glory, like a Bon Jovi, just like a guitar solo. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Something cool.
Yeah.
Or something like extremely memorable. Like you punch like a famous person, and then you get arrested, like something cool like that. Like, yeah, this guy's crazy.
Yeah. Just find out what is your kid's most passionate, like if they were to like have a picket sign, and what would they go picket for, and be like, oh, so thinking we should have more green M&Ms. Okay. And then just go to Hershey's and just raise hell and then make sure you get on TV to be like, Look what I did right before some sniper takes you out and you just fall back in the vat of like,
green M&Ms.
Green M&Ms. And they're like, oh, my dad is a legend. Oh, yes. That was
your dad? That was my dad.
Yeah. And then that way, if there's ever any stepdad situation, be like, whatever, Dirk, I will never call you dad.
You cannot live up to that.
Because you will never, ever fall for me in a vat. Green M&Ms.
Dirk. Dad, like what would be cool is just like getting ran over by a Formula One car. Like there's a Formula One race, you just run out into the track and just say something outrageous. Illuminati's real or something like that.
Yes. It's like they're all watching you.
Yeah. Something crazy where people are like, what the hell was he talking about?
The all-seeing eye is watching you.
They make a movie out of it.
There you go.
The conspiracy theory that you raised based on absolute. We've gone on a severe tangent, which is okay. But the point is, you got some really cool stuff cooking. I like that you're doing that. You're building a community. It's inspiring because that's what we want to do here, right? Or obviously, you said riches are in the niches, right? But we're trying to build community. We're trying to make it a cool place for specifically like book people, previous book people, and it's like. There's a Venn diagram of the people that you're trying to gather and the people we're trying to gather, and that's so cool that other people are doing that because there's value in these conversations with these people that we have on the show, and it's the more that we can have tune in and buy in and listen and connect and network through that community. I feel like there's a lot of potential there for who we are as a group of people, these crazy book kids.
Well, what I found is in building, became a community before with copying closers, and the closers community was salespeople a lot of times are alone because we've got the most accountability and the least we've got the most responsibility and the least accountability. Like nobody, like we can't make the decisions that move the needle. So we're responsible for everything, but nobody gives us the power to help move the needle from a decision making standpoint. So we found that was a community that people needed. They called it the AA for sales professionals, and there was no booth. Well, there was a cocktails and closers. That was a good time. But we did a special show every now and then. But mainly it was in the morning, 9:30 a.m. Having some coffee, and so there was just a lot of people just talking about, man, I was going to quit this, and now I'm not because I met other people that are going through it. I'm not alone. We want to do that with these solopreneurs and these people that either are doing it themselves and they are able to take Fridays off and able to take summers off, but they got no one else to spend time with. Bridge that community. And equally as important, if not more important, is it's real. You can do this. I've told you at the beginning of this, I barely graduated high school. I got into college by the hair of my chinny chin chin, and I got into sales. It's not like I have this prolific, I didn't get a master's or I'm not an architect from UNL like my wife. I'm not a genius like you, Andre's. Like there's a lot of people listening that are way smarter than I'll ever be, including my 7-year-old when she starts listening to this but it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like it just matters on what's the purpose and the path and what's your why, and then what's your execution plan. And if we can put together a community of someone to say, I can do it, you can do it. And oh, by the way, you don't believe me? Here's 4 podcast episodes of 4 people with less credibility than you that did it. Here's how they did it. Here's how they've been successful. Here's how they afford to continue to do it. And then you don't have an excuse. And that's the whole point of the community. Because for me, and this is going to sound selfish, is I want more people to hang out with on Friday. I want more people to go float down the river on Friday. Okay, that's selfish. But also, I don't want to have the conversation anymore. There's a poverty mindset that people they kind of rely on to say, well, you can do it because of these reasons, but I couldn't. Well, when you have 4 people with different but similar stories of like, oh no, here's how I did it. Here's why I did it. Here's how I've been successful. And here's how I afford to continue to do so. And here's the life I live in between. Then now it's on you. That's you. Like you have chosen to be miserable and you don't want to do it because you got people that are telling you how to do it. And they're not famous. You never heard of them. They probably run unsexy businesses, but they take summers off, or they go live in Colombia for a month, or whatever's important to them, or they homeschool. They've always wanted to, and now they get to. Everyone's got their own, Quan, whatever that is. Everyone's got their own thing. For me, it was summers off. That was a big one for me. And then the ski season kind of crept in there, and We do that because we can, but like we didn't, we weren't setting out to take 6 months off, and we don't. I mean, I'm not saying that it's all 6 months. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but we build our life around it, and we can afford to do so within the other 6 months. And I'm happy if I were to ever be on some, I could walk someone exactly how to do this. And every guest that we'll have and every community member, we hope, in the beginning, that are kind of the elders of people that have had the experience, are going to be people that can walk you through too. And you'll find these are ordinary people.
Right.
They're ordinary.
Who figured things out for themselves, and they can help you avoid mistakes. Yep.
And to your point, what you guys are building, if I may, I think what you're building is beautiful. And I'm happy it's you, because there are a lot of shitty podcasts out there, and there's far too many, in my opinion. Right. Population control. You want to talk about that? Like there's half of these podcasts should be, just eliminated. But yours should be lifted up for those reasons. Is the way you do this, and your setup and everything's been so comfortable. I've been on 100 podcasts, and yours has been by far my favorite. And the people that you are going to feature, these are ordinary people that live extraordinary lives or have done extraordinary things, and you're going to highlight them. Like that's what better. I bet you sleep very well at night doing what you're doing.
We try. I mean, we just maintain the goal, like you said, maintain the why. It's always like, well, I mean, it's good to make money because I need to feed my dogs, right? But that's not why we do this. It's more for the celebration of people who do this crazy job. It's not about the company itself. It's not about the actual internship.
Yeah,
that's just what we did, right? It's more about like, hey, you did this. And actually, I was just having this conversation with someone when they were like, I don't remember who it was, but I was like, if I was recruiting, I'd have people listen to these episodes all the time. And that sounds self-centered, but that's not my point. My point is like, I guarantee you try to recruit a kid that wants to be a doctor. And we've had people who are doctors, and they talked about how this experience helped them be doctors. Or there's people that want to be, mechanical engineers, or they want to be podcasting. They want to do whatever the hell they're doing. Yeah. We've had somebody from pretty much every industry at least once, if not multiple times, on here. So it's like, it just shows that like we went our separate ways. For a moment, we did this 3-month thing, right, in college, or sometimes people did more than just one summer, but like they did that, and then they went on, and now it's like such a cool network of people that we're wanting to celebrate them, and we want to celebrate the fact that they did something hard and that they're doing something great now. And even if it's like they're not making millions of dollars, that's not what we consider great. It's just the fact that they're doing something that they love and they're using that experience. That's awesome.
Money's so fun. Money's garbage, man. It's all about experience. Like you can't take it with you anyway. No one's I've never been to a funeral. Someone's like, ooh, they were so rich. They were the richest rich. They had 3 boats? Like never. You're just trying to piece together, were they a good person? You know what I mean? Yeah. I found the best funerals that I've been to that they're people the most celebrated. I don't know. No one knows how much money they have. They could have nothing in their savings account, but this is the life they lived, and this is the experiences that they shared with others. And that's what you're doing. And that's what community does, man. And it could be, with your kids, your dogs, or your community, or it could be this community. And you're highlighting people that everyone gets to listen to. And I'm with you, man. Like, I don't know how I can help, but like, we should get this into the hands of recruiters to say, these are real people that went on to do great things. What is great to somebody is different than what is great to others. But
yeah.
I mean, what episode is this? You guys have done like 1 million of these, right? So
this will be 148 or something like that. We rearrange them.
That was close. 100 million. I mean, my math is never. I told you my grade, my GPA, but that's a lot of episodes that people can pick from to say, this guy talks too fast. That'd be me. I don't have any interest in snowboarding, but there might be someone else that's like, hey, I like her because she went to UNL too. You know what I mean? Like there's someone for everybody, I'm guessing.
And we try to be diverse too. Like we've had on the show, different races, different sexual orientations, different ages, different economic levels. Some people have been out here have a net worth bigger than the rest of them combined. Some people are broke, but none of that stuff matters. What matters is just like, hey, you did this job, you learned these things, and now this is what you're doing, and this is why. This is the hard thing for you. Sometimes I'm proud of the variety that we have had on here, and it's been a lot of fun for sure. So, I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, it's a niche that should be celebrated because it's a job that if you can get through it, you know what I mean? Like in my beginning, I told you this at the beginning, like I was working in corporate because I spent 10 or 12 years in corporate America. That one summer got me more interviews and jobs than anything else. You know what I mean? There was nothing else that got me more. Now, granted, as the President's Clubs and that stuff stands out on its own, but it began with this. I mean, I know that's how I got my gig at Verizon for sure. That's how I got my gig at Concur and so on. Yeah.
I was going to say, let's get into that. Let's get into Southwestern stuff. Let me do a quick shout out to some of our friends here. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but all of our jockeys are all alumni. They're all alumni people.
Right
so we
on.
have them like they pay for ad space or they pay for being in our mastermind meetings. We have a bunch of varieties, ways that they can support the show, but still get stuff out and get some value. But anyway, big shout out to Greta Huerta. She's from Cardinal Senior Benefits. And her biggest tip for you is invest in yourself, damn it. The very first financial milestone that helps her agents have a cushion of about 20 to 30,000 in savings. They say about 6 months of savings, 6 months of income is what you should have in an emergency fund. So if you're an entrepreneur, huge, do that, because in case shit hits a fan or another pandemic, we get another pandy or something, you have a cushion. I'm sure Mickeli would concur with that for sure.
I concur.
And then our second big old friend here is Pat Roach. I don't know if you remember Pat. He is now the president of Southwestern Real Estate. He was talking about building out your network. So if you're in the real estate space and you want to learn how to grow it, this is actually good advice for any industry, but he talks about referrals, the referral game. Building out your network is the most important thing for you. The most important thing for the client is professionalism. So are you operating with integrity, reliability? Can you accurately determine, the value that you're providing for people and show them that and explain that to them? That's the biggest thing, he says, for success in real estate, but really in an industry. I feel like that's good. So if you guys are curious, we actually are doing a program where if you guys want to get an interview with Pat Roach, if you listen through it on the show, we actually can get you, booked with him to learn a little bit more about the opportunity with real estate. Pretty awesome. All right, now let's move on. Let's go back to Mickeli. Wind the clocks back, my friend. Take us back to that good old spring or fall of 2000 or spring of 01. How the hell did you get recruited into this crazy internship?
So I'm trying to think. So it was Brian Bakken was I
know Brian.
You know Brian? All right.
Yeah.
Nanner, and then Nanner, but I can't remember I don't know if people still call him Nanner, but it was Brian Bakken and Nanner. No?
Nanner. I don't know who Nanner is.
I cannot think of his. Well, see, there you go. Power of a nickname. Last test of time, I guess. What the hell is his name? Anyway, Brian Bakken, those blue eyes, baby blues. He was lurking around campus. He was NDSU guy. And I think, no, he was what am I talking about? He was a UND guy. He was actually from Grand Forks, East Grand Forks, I think, technically. But anyway, he was there.
Baby blue.
Yeah, like
yeah. Stares at your soul.
Oh, buddy, like just blue steel. And so, I just laid back, cool guy. And he was, at the time I was selling advertisement for the Dakota Student. And, I wasn't making life-changing money. And by that, I mean nothing. I wasn't making a whole lot. And so I was like, whatever. And so he's like, hey, what if you didn't have to work? Because I paid for most of my college. So I always had to have a job. And he's like, what if you just didn't work? And you could just come one summer and just clean house. And some people are making blah, blah, blah. They still use the same tactic on literally anything everywhere. Hey, you join the military.
Since 1968 at least.
Yeah, but it's not even them.
It's like,
you get free college, free whatever. Join the military. They don't tell you that. Well, you might go to war. But anyway, so those baby blues pierced through my soul. And I was like, sounds too good to be true. I'm in. And so, joined those guys. And I'm trying to think if it was St. Cloud or whatever. And we went, it was St. Cloud. It's weird how these things come back. But went to St. Cloud and did got to meet the other cats. And that's where we met Ryan Padgett. Ryan Padgett, he was a part of our wedding. We had a pastor because I'm Christian, but he's a pastor too. Not a pastor, but what do you call it? Like a minister, the guy that can do weddings.
I think minister is probably right.
Is that what it is? I think so. You get ordained or whatever. But it's online. It's an online class. It's not anyway. So I'm not trying to poo-poo on that, but so he's that. So I'm still tight. Anyone knows Ryan Padgett knows we're tight. And so Ryan Padgett was there, Rich Strobel, Nature Bohr. The whole dream team, right? Like Evelyn Holmquist. I could go on and on and on. These are some cool kids.
By what was Tim Ritzer doing?
Tim Ritzer, dude. It was Tim Ritzer, Joe Lipon.
Was he DSL? or DSM already, or was he still working?
Oh no, he was okay. So just you got to refresh me now. So Tim Ritzer was like, if there was a pyramid, it was his face, at the top of it, and then it was all these other cats. But I don't remember the order. Is it DSL then DSM, or do you remember? I don't
DSM
recall.
is the top. It was the ASL, FSL, DSM.
Okay, then he was the DSL.
He was the top head honcho.
Yeah,
guy's a machine.
Ripley was there.
Stud.
Oh yeah, Ritz. We have Ritzisms, and so like you just take that tattered little corner of your cool card and you just throw that out the window. Like I could recite like 20 of these things. You ask anybody that anyone ever told you that one?
I've heard him.
You just take that tattered little corner of your cool card and just that tattered little corner, and you just throw right out the window. I mean, there's a million of them, but yeah. So he was the guy, and
machine. He's a machine. And
you meet Ritz, and you're like, honestly, like you seen Ghostbusters? They got the little laser guns, and then they show that they throw a little thing, and then all the ghosts go into that trap. Like Ritzer was the trap, right? Like all these guys are shooting lasers at us, but then Ritzer walks in, and you're like, well, I want what he's selling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen him in a while. Yeah, but I lived in Stillwater. So when we moved here, like the lake we lived on was right by Stillwater, where Ritz has lived forever. And so I don't remember the last time, but it was within the time that I was back in the cities. And then we've lived out here for like a year and a half. And I remember seeing Ritzer, and I was like, imagine someone froze him from like 20 years ago, and it's the same guy. I was like, what? Like, is this cryptotherapy or whatever that stuff? Is that what Tim Ferriss is into? Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one where they freeze you or whatever. I'm like, what is this? And it was like literally the same guy. Like, it looked the same, exactly the same person. I just remember Ritz, and that was it. So yeah, we got recruited. I mean, like the stories of like baby blue eyes and then Ritzer, and we're like, whatever. Like the details in between those two experiences, I don't remember because I was on the Kool-Aid water slide, man. I was like, all right, so I can make in a summer, I can make how much? And all I got to do is go sell some stuff, which I already was doing. No one told me the door thing. We'll just worry about that later. I'm not saying I got bamboozled, but let's be honest. Sounds pretty damn good when you're 19, 20 years old.
When they're telling you get to, and like for me, it was like this cute girl's doing the presentation and they're telling you get to go skydiving, go to New York City and whatever.
If you win, you get to go to the Cayman Islands. And that was crazy thing. The Cayman Islands was the Sizzler that year. And my parents, who worked there their whole life to go to the Cayman Islands, they're like, yes, we go into the Cayman Islands. I was like, I'm going to go to the Cayman Islands. They're like, no, you will not. We worked way harder than you will. You will not go to the, you know what I mean? They didn't say that, but I'm making them sound like villains. Also, they're very sweet people. But they happen to be the Cayman Islands. Like imagine in their eyes, this is like the dream vacation. And I have an opportunity to also go through just this thing that I thought would be easy, which it wasn't. But yeah, so we got recruited, went to St. Cloud. I remember meeting up, like you said, cute girls. I mean, you're just, I'm from a tiny town. Grand Forks isn't much bigger. We go to a bigger town. Then we go to Nashville and you hear Augmendina, like you get, you hear the voice and you hear,
Mort Utley?
Oh, Mort Utley. Did I say? Sorry, I meant Mort Utley. Yeah. I mean, you hear the Mort Utley thing. I mean, honestly, if you can walk away from that and say, nah, don't really feel that moved at this moment, then you should check your pulse because you hear Mort and you're like, forget about it. I'm going to go be the best seller ever, and you're in Nashville.
Ever. Yeah. And it's so fun. It's hard, but it's so fun. Yeah.
Well, I don't say it was fun. I mean, it was the summer itself was not fun. I mean, I mean, I'm just being honest with you, dude. Like okay. So I got bit by 4 dogs. I got 2 guns pulled on me. I got bit by a goat, like a pygmy goat, not a big one. That was embarrassing because I actually cried because it broke skin. You know what I mean? Like the dogs scared the shit out of me, but like this little goat actually broke skin. And this is at the point where I'm like, well, someone please cut their damn grass. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, I'm just like driving around these trailer.
Where'd you sell?
I sold in Appalachia, Ohio, man. Like it was Deliverance. People literally had 3 flags in their yard. Okay. They had the American flag, the Ohio flag, and at the center, far above the other 2, were their favorite NASCAR flag. And so what I learned was Sunday, they had I didn't sell on Sundays. So Sunday they would have the Busch series and whatever. So I still remember this. I mean, that was like one and done with NASCAR, that one. But I learned a lot about NASCAR, and I learned everyone loved Junior, like Dale Earnhart Jr. Okay. Because just Dale Earnhardt, I think he just died. So it was really fresh. And so I had a Dale Earnhardt shirt and a air freshener, and I had Dale Earnhardt on my little thing, like stickers. And I would show up and they'd be like, they used to ask, who's your driver? That's how I learned. And I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? I'm my driver. I drove myself here. I'm a big boy. They're like, no, who's your driver? I'm like, I don't even know what that means. It's who's your favorite NASCAR driver. So then once I learned that, I just roll up with Dale Earnhardt crap everywhere. And they're like, Dale, respect. And then I would get in their house. I'm not kidding. You think it's a joke?
That's called professionalism. No, that's called professionalism.
I wish it was a joke. It wasn't.
That's how it works, man. You gotta marry your turf. That's what they say, right? Marry your territory. And
you know, my favorite part was when people were like, "Hey, like, you don't go calling them. They're poor." Like, you imagine someone saying about you. Like, there's one to be like, well, "They don't have any kids. That's Tom and Judy. Their kids graduated, or those folks. They're young. Their kids are babies. Do you have things for babies? No, you don't. Well, you never know." And then there's like, and don't go talk to Larry and Sheila. They're poor. Or they're dumb, or like, I was like, why would you tell me that? Like, how do you have a thermometer of someone being dumb or smart? Like, that's incredible to say. Like, how about your neighbor?
Also when they were also poor, like they just got done telling
right.
you they can't afford it.
Yeah.
But then they would tell you don't go there because they're poor. It's like,
and the end of the story, every single one of those poor people or dumb people or whatever. They bought, and their kids are way better off than the dum-dums that told me that. Oh man,
it was a good time.
It was wild. But
like, it sucked. It sucked to do the job, but when you would get into these moments where it was fun, it was some of the most fun things you've ever done. Probably. I mean,
nobody goes, "Ooh, I regret going to the gym that day," right? But sometimes, let's be honest, you got to give it 5:30 and go hit the gym, and you're like, I don't really want to do this. But no one regrets doing after. I think that's how I look at Southwestern. So yeah, if you're listening to this, you're like, I'm on the fence. Should I do it or not? Do it. Like, is it going to be awesome? No. But is the fruits from it, dude, they're unmatched. There is. I might as well not even went to college. I mean, I think I had to go to college to do Southwestern. So I don't know, but right. I would have jumped into Southwestern, and been like, I'm just going to go do this because I learned more in that. I took 5 years, by the way, 5 years, victory lap. That one summer,
half, man. Don't worry.
All right, then you're winning at knowledge.
I'm not. I'm not. It was bad.
Your cup is full of knowledge. Mine's just right at the brim.
Oh shit.
No, but
I love my job.
That was a wild summer, and I told you already. I mean, it's not like, would I have done it again? Probably. I had to graduate though. That was the whole point. I was there, but yeah.
Damn, dude, that's crazy. Where were the? Wait, are the gun stories the ponytails, or like, can you tell us one of these gun situations?
I have so many. That's the thing. I'll tell you one of the gun ones because it's not as funny as some of those other ones. The gun story. So one was just flat out. I knocked at the door and they go, no, you get now. One of the scariest moments of my life was I was going up to this place, and when you're like, you knock on every door, you knock on it 3 times, or until you hear a no or whatever. 1 or 2, you're like, this looks like. Before I knew what cooking meth meant, or like drug houses, or things like that you see in the movies now, because I didn't have those kind of movies then. You're like, I would have never knocked on this door today because I've seen too many movies on this stuff. I go there and this guy's got a shotgun. It was just like, he's like, get off my land. And I was like, okay, I will do that. I'm not going to, yep. And then they had what's a scary dog? Like, not a German Shepherd, the other one that's like, the black and brown one that
like a pincher, like a Doberman?
Yeah, not a pincher, but the other one, the Rottweiler. It was a Rottie. There's so many Rotties out there, and they're chained to people's like trees. Like, so imagine like, I'm hungry, I want to be loved, I am out here in the hot ass, Appalachian mountain sun, and then there's this little tasty morsel, in khaki shorts and little red polo. going to eat your face. And so most of them were tied to the tree. I told you about the tire popping, right? Where this dog just leapt out of this tire and he just bit my tire on my way out. And I did back up a little too far, but I didn't see the damn thing. And who knew that a tire could pop by a dog biting it? You know, not like running over glass or whatever. It was like, nope, the dog bit it. I saw it bite it. It rolled, tumbled away. And then I had to pull over on the gravel road, and then it rained. And I was like, oh, I better go to Sizzler or someone's going to die. So, you know, I had to change that. But anyway, this other thing. So most of them were tied to trees, but I'm walking in my car and all of a sudden I hear, and it looked like so we live over where there's grizzly bears and there's black bears. This thing looked like if I were living, lived here and then went to sell books there, like kind of switch, you know, timelines, I would have swore it was a bear. It was this huge Roddy and it was big and it was running at me and they're fast. And I had to run to my car. And this guy wasn't like, don't do it. It was like watching through the window. I swear to God, I didn't see him because I was looking the other way running. But I'm like, this guy's going to enjoy this shit. You know, I'm going to see some college kid, skinny, you know, just trying to make a buck. And I got into the car, locked the door as if he has fingers or thumbs. He doesn't. It's just a dog. And just peeled out of there. And I was like, good grief. So that was the first gun. The last gun was after I blew up someone's toilet. And I was already feeling a little bad about that because I got lost. So then I was like, oh man. And the husband, the husband was like, you know, he was old. I mean, I don't know how old they were. I mean, I was 20. So like I'm old to people. I would have been old to me now or then. Do you know what I mean? Like me now would be old to me then. So they could have been in their 40s. I don't know. And they were like, he's like, you're not coming in. Don't let him in. As if I'm there to hit on his wife. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, but I have a mom too. And no, I'm not in. No. So she let me in and let me do this story and the thing, whatever. And he was just pissed. And he was sad the whole time, just pissed, just so pissed. And finally he goes, you done? And I go, yep. And then I left. And then I drove away. And I was like, oops. And then I went back because I didn't know where I was. I was like, I got to go back. She answered the door. He was in the shop, thank God. And she's like, you can go, honey. Don't worry. He won't find out. Well, I went to the toilet and I plugged it. And I plugged it. I murdered it. And there was a dead toilet when I left.
Oh, yeah.
Book field poo. I mean, just that, you know, that good old
stress coming out.
Stress, just plugging the toilet. Anyway, so I go and there was no fan. So, you know, and I was like, oh boy. So then I just closed the door. She said, you better? I go, I feel a lot better. Husband is like, he saw me drive away. Didn't thank the Lord there was no confrontation because he would have probably been like, I knew it. He's here to bang my wife, you know, and I wasn't. I just got like a, you know, I didn't know where to go. And so I left and I just think about that. And I'm like, and I drove by that house 100 times because they were like on that main, you know, like a main drag. And I'm like, I can't believe that. I didn't get like pitchfork out of nowhere. This guy sitting on his rocking chair, like in the weeds, just chucking because it was a trailer park. So there was a trailer and I don't know how to fix. I mean, I got an RV myself. And if someone plugs that toilet, just replace it. So I don't know. I don't know how they had to deal. Yeah. I don't know how they had to deal with that one.
You can total the RV.
You really, literally do. I've had that happen. I'm like, oh, here goes another one. And it's a pain. So yeah, I don't know. But that was
good times. A good poop story.
So that was okay. Then the poop after that got followed up with another gun. It was like I don't have a really great story for that one. It's just like this person, you know, with a little thing. It says no solicitation everywhere, right? And that was when they said, "Who cares about those things? Don't they? They have signs that say don't." Yeah. Like today, you'd get in Montana, you'd get shot because it's legal to shoot people that solicit. So I would literally have been shot already. But he had a gun. He slid it through the thing, like the screen door. That's like a little square for mail. It goes, slides over. He sticks his gun out as if like you could totally shoot me through the screen door. Like that little little screen isn't going to protect me from these bullets, right? Yeah. You know,
it goes through a car, so it's going to go through that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you could, if you want to kill me. I mean, like, you know. And this is after I just plugged. I mean, it was just a shitty day, pun intended. And I was like, I don't even care. You want to, you know, you're clearly having better, worse. I think I said it. I'm like, at this point, just shoot me. I don't care. And he was like, oh no. And he was an ex-cop or something. And he was like, sorry, we've had Rob's. And we hung out on the back of his tailgate. And he gave me a beer. We sat and had a beer and just talked about stuff. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. I was like, I needed this. I'm like, this day sucked. Because it was like, I was a guy to get 30 or 35 touches, right? Our demos, you know, and I was when we say Kool-Aid, dude, I was injecting it. I was all in, and I'm like,
I am snorting the powder.
Oh, I was snorting it, bonging it, whatever. And because I was like, I am like, my big thing was the money went away after they said the Sizzler trip. Cause I'm like, I'm going to prove my parents I'm not a loser because I barely graduated high school. You know, they didn't call me a loser, but you know, I had a lot of fun and they might've thought it sometimes in my head. So I was like, I'm going to get this damn trip. And so I didn't care. So it took all these demos and whatever. I did it. And it took getting guns pulled out and dogs bit. Anyway.
Oh, wild. My man. One summer is enough. That was a crazy summer too. A lot of people doing really good stuff. That's awesome. Yeah, man. Now, hey, it might be time for some ponytails. Unless those were the ponytails.
No.
You save some good stories.
I have too many.
All right. Well, the ponytails is usually like one or two of your favorite ones, and it's a good way to put a bow on what has been a full fun episode. So I'm gonna give a couple more shout outs, and then the mic is yours. Is that cool?
Works for me.
Oh man. Okay, well, last but not least, we always like to do a quick thank you to EnLight.Energy. They were our oldest sponsors. They do solar. You guys are in the Florida area and are looking to make some solid money. A sale every other week is a 6-figure income with solar in Florida. So get a hold of us. We'll get you in touch with them. They actually work with any state, really. So you don't have to be confined to Florida, unfortunately for you. Cardinal Senior Benefits, one more big shout out. They are doing a referral currently. So if you guys are wanting to earn some extra cash, refer somebody who would be interested in working with them. They're in the insurance business. I think their agents are working an average of 30 to 40 hours a week and averaging anywhere from 5 to 10, sometimes more of revenue, 12 to 15 per week. And they've done, 1,000. I should say. We mentioned it before. They're in growth mode. They're looking to double in 2022 on pace. There's been several people that have come and gotten referred to them through us. So earn yourself some money that way, or go work with them. Either way. And then, of course, go check out our website, theponytailspodcast.com. It was designed by VDisain. If you guys want to learn more about how these book guys are creating such cool websites, let us know. We can also hook you up with them. They work with U.S. customers as well. They're mainly in Europe, but they're starting to open up into the market of the United States. And we were one of the first ones. So reach out to us for that information. So now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the ponytails. Now, this could be, as you guys know, if this is your first episode, you don't know, it's called a ponytail because it refers to a pony. Now, traditionally speaking, a pony is like a big customer, but we've mixed it up here on the show. So sometimes people tell us like crazy funny stories, funny poop stories. Times people got arrested. Sometime that someone met Jesus. We've had a variety. So hopefully Mickeli has a couple that he just really would like to share with us. This is your opportunity to do stand-up, my friend, right here.
Oh, bucket list, buddy. Bucket list. 3 minutes of freedom.
You got to go do it. Just jump in.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. It's been like this dusty, you know what I mean? Like a pilot's license, the black belt. Like I've done like a lot of stuff that I wanted to do, but like there's this dusty check. And I don't know why. I think it's after I told you I watched my friend bomb and then realizing she wasn't even doing it to be funny. She was doing it to get prepared for the demo the next day. I'm more like, I don't think that I can walk off there not being funny. So then you start acting hard. You know what I mean? You start really getting there. And then you become the unfunny, sad guy. And I think that's what keeps me up at night and why I haven't given it a go. So next time we talk,
go bomb. It's okay. You probably honestly, you're probably going to bomb. Not that you're not funny. I'm not saying that at all. It's just that every time, usually that's like how the first time goes. It's kind of like your first door. When you knock on your first door, you're like, that was the worst approach I've ever done, even though we practiced for, 80 hours just last week.
Yeah.
That's just how, but
I like that attitude.
So go do it multiple times.
All right.
So you get laughs.
I'll give it a shot. I probably won't, but I will tell you right now that I am confidently going to go and think about it. How about that?
Wow.
That's committal. I will think about it.
You mean that?
It's my dad voodoo. No, you can't go play with those railroad ties. Who knows what's in them? But I'll think about letting you do it after your nap. You know what I mean? So, all right. Okay. So I'm going to tell you this goat story because in my days, in my travels, in my experiences, I can't believe this happened. So I pull up on this gravel road and this again, I'm like, where is the lawnmower? I'm like, you know what I mean? I don't know about you, but I like a nice, like a tight lawn. Anyway, I get in there and it didn't drive me. What's that?
Just like a soccer pitch, just manicured, beautiful lawn. Just
you know what? To me, there are two ways to measure a man. One is his lawn and how does he handle a grill, right? And I think that I was judging this guy hard before I pulled up. So I pulled up, I get in there, I see this lawn, it's pissing me off already. I'm like, oh, this is disgusting. And then there's this garage and it's separate out, like they're not connected. You know, it's like a garage and then the house is separate or whatever. And then I can see in between those cracks, there is this lawnmower. So I'm like, oh, well, at least they have a lawnmower that must have stalled, but long enough where no one's fixed it in a while. And it's just like, you know, it's still like there was someone gave a little, college effort. So there's a little line there. And then on top of it is this pygmy goat. And if you don't know what a pygmy goat is, it's like a miniature dog. So it's like you got the regular dog and then the miniature version of it. And there is these regular, goats or whatever out here, or that we have them and they have them. So I've seen those. Never seen a pygmy goat. There's a little version of a goat, right? And they look sweet.
Teacup.
Yes. Goat. And it was tan and white. It had little tiny horns. I mean, literally, it was like someone, shrunk it. It just went, and it was the same. Like everything was the same. And I was looking at it, just like mesmerized because I'd never seen such a thing. This is after I got over the grass being uncut. And then I look and I see this little kid. He's got his little like tank top, but he's got like honey or jam or some sticky shit, I don't know, all over his face, but like long enough where no one washed his face after snack or whatever this thing was. Just caked on his face. Do you know what I mean? And I was just having one of those days, pretty much most of the summer, but another one of those days. And so I'm like, oh, gross. And he's got like sticky hands, like the sticky kind of hands, like you don't want him touching your stuff. So the kid comes up and he wants to touch me. And I'm like, don't touch me. I didn't say that, but I was like, hey, just kind of like little break. I'm like, is your dad home? And he was like, yeah. Like, yeah. And I was like, okay, where is he? And he goes, he's home. And I'm like, may I talk to him? And he goes, if you want. And I was like, now I know that sounds like Bill Cosby, so I'm doing a bad impression of this kid. It's just a Southern accent, and I haven't been there in years, so I don't know. So anyway, this sticky covered kid, this chubby little fat arms and his tank top. And now I'm mesmerized by him. So I completely lost track of this goat. So I'm talking to this kid and I'm finally like, all right, where is your dad? Like, can we just figure this out together? Huh?
Can we just figure it out together? Go
yeah.
Get your dad.
Sticky kid. Oh, it's just sticky. Like maple syrup, you can smell it. You're just like, I don't know. And it's like 2:00. Like who's eating pancakes at 2 anyway? So like he's going through this back and forth. And I'm like, hey kid, like, is your dad home? Mom home? I don't know. I don't really care at this point. Who is it? So as soon as the dad comes across the thing, he's like, who's this? I go to make my introduction. I walk forward and I trip on this thing. And all of a sudden I feel this, like this goat was right by my feet, like a phantom. Like all of a sudden I was so fixated on this sticky kid. And then the dad comes around, who's this? And then, and he looks just like, it was like, here's a little goat version of dad, and there's a big goat version of dad. And his is oil. It wasn't sticky, but he had like oil and stuff, equally fat, like just both coming in. And I'm telling you, the pain of this damn goat, like, I don't know what those things eat. I think they eat like trash, right? And cans it hurt. I got bit by 4 dogs that summer. This goat hurt like times 10 of them. I would have rather taken 10 dog bites over this one goat bite. And it hurt so bad because he got his teeth. He bites me and I'm like, oh, and I look at these guys and they're belly laughing at me with their oil and their maple syrup and they're sticky and they're just belly laughing with their bellies out. And then this goat, I look down and the damn thing has its stupid teeth, like smiling with his big teeth, just smiling. Like I just felt like at that moment, everybody, including the world, is laughing at me. And I just told him, never mind. And I went to my car and I drove away. It's the last, I still have not seen a pygmy goat to this day in real life. I don't even know if that was real. It could have been the heat. But it was I don't know if pygmy goats are real, but that one was. And it bit the shit out of my leg. I still have the mark. It was terrible. It was terrible. Oh, and they were all laughing.
You don't need no soliciting signs. You just need a pygmy goat.
Those things will attack. I didn't know that happened. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a vet. Like, I didn't know that those things bit. Yeah, so that's it's one of my wildest field stories, just because to this day I've never seen those things since. The last time I saw one, it bit me.
That's not a ponytail. That's a goat tail.
Yeah, that's a goat tail. I got a Sizzler one too, and then I know.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Oh, I love a good Sizzler ponytail.
The Sizzler one was, so we were in and I'm not going to say the names because I don't know if these guys went on to do great things and I don't want to like bring them back to my level, but they
we'll call them Morts.
Well, I'll just tell them. Yeah.
Whenever we have people who we don't want to name them for the same reason, we just call them Mort. So you're hanging out with Mort at Sizzler. So,
well, all right then. So there was a group of Morts, and there's like 5 or 6. I don't know whatever is overcapacity for a Jeep Wrangler. How about that? So we're hanging out at the hotel, and someone's like, "Have you ever been?" Oh, actually, I'm the one because my parents had been there before. I'm like, "We got to go to Rum Point, and we got to go to this sunset because it's magical. It's magical." Now, granted, this is my parents' favorite, vacation of all time, right? So I'm selling it like there's going to be, a volcano erupting and, like a lunar eclipse and whatever, So I'm like, all right, let's go to Rum Point. And they're like, all right. So we rented, one of us went and got a Jeep, but it was like it wasn't, they're not like these unlimiteds or whatever. Like this was like a military Jeep painted red, piece of garbage. And so we get on. So we're like, well, this only seats, like 2-door. I mean, four
like
uncomfortably. Yeah. And there was 6 of us at least. If I recall, there was at least 6 or 7 of us. And so we're like, well, I want to go to Rum Point and you want to go to Rum Point, and let's just all go to Rum Point. And so instead of going and getting another Jeep because we were cheap, we all just piled on this Jeep. So we got guys hanging the roll bars. So we got two guys in the front. I think we squished 3. And then, no, there had to be one guy saying, no, there's one guy hanging on the side because we almost rolled it. So there might have been more than that. Now I think about it, because there was a couple guys hanging on the sides, and then there was 2 guys in the back, 3 guys in the back. Well, there's a shitload of us. Anyway, so we go, because here's why. The story will make sense once you realize how many people in the back were there. So I was in the back, my buddy Tom, Mort, let's say Tom and another Mort. And we're driving through there, and it was a little bit longer than we thought. And we thought, hey, I got an idea. Well, we blow through this next town. Why don't we just all pull down our pants and just moon the locals? Because that'd be fun for them. Because Sizzler, and we'll never see them again, And so we all pulled down our pants, all the guys hanging off the side, obviously, and we're just showing our asses, and we're just ripping through this town, not abiding by the speed limit by any means. We're showing our asses, having a good time. You know what I mean? And then we go and we get to Rum Point. We hang out there for a while, having a good time. You know what I mean? Sun starts to set. We're like, we should probably get back. So we start coming back, and we're driving, and we're like, hey, we should pull over for some shrimp. So we have some shrimp. Mind you, it is very illegal, very, very illegal. Like the Cayman Islands are pretty pristine, and they want to keep it that way, and they're very conservative on certain things. Bare assing, mooning, not on the list of things that they appreciate. And so because we took all this time in between driving through the town, we drove through it again because that's the only way to get there. We think we'll never be through this town again. Well, guess what? That's the only way to get back. So we drive through this town again, and there's cops stopping traffic, looking for these 7 or 8 gringos with their asses hanging out. And they go, it's on a red Jeep. They were belligerent, which we weren't. I mean, we were a little drunk, but we weren't hammered. And Now we were drunk. Now, like on the way back, we got rum point. It's the reason why it's
Except
called
for
that.
whoever was driving. That's
I don't remember that. I wasn't driving, so I don't really care.
Don't drink and drive, kids.
Yeah, don't do that. That's bad, especially in a foreign country. And so anyway, they're pulling people over. Well, then we're like, uh-oh, because we see the cops and we're just illegal. We didn't even think about the harassing. We didn't think about mooning. And so we're just like, ooh, we are intoxicated. We have beers here because we're drinking them as we're, obviously like, and throwing them, at the signs or whatever. And, and so all of these things have spread because this isn't like a huge island. So there's a bunch of drunken gringos chucking bottles, swearing and yelling, and then have their pants down. And we think this is hilarious. And then we look, we're like, well, we can't go through there. There's only one way to go. So then we whip around. Well, then they see this. And then, because we almost tipped it. That's why it was like, whoa. And we almost tipped. Like, imagine if we would have tipped this thing over in the street. How we didn't, I don't know. We all had to like tug it, like you're going down like a boxcar or whatever, like, oh, and you pull it over. So we pulled it over and we didn't tip it, thank God. But then we couldn't go anywhere. So it's like we just started driving the other way slower. We're like, trying to figure out where to go. Remember I told you there's no cell phones, no GPS, no Google, nothing. There's just one road. And all of a sudden the cops saw us and they're like, well, there they are right there. It was clearly like, well, yeah, he's like, everyone's just driving, going to work and going home. And then there's these assholes that are hanging off of a Jeep, like 8 of us, yelling and screaming and tipping it over. Like clearly we were the clown car. So they pulled us over. And that conversation, just trying to be like, don't worry, I got this. Like the I got this guy. And we're all like coming off of President Club. We're Sizzler. We're so Sizzler. Yeah, let's give them the approach. Come on, just do the check down. And it was just a bunch of.
We sold books door to door. We can do anything.
Yeah, and that is exactly right. And
we just got to establish rapport.
We got out. I mean, we got out like we got down. And we're like, oh my God, we're gonna go to a Cayman Island jail. And like, who do you call? Like, no one has cell phone. Like, who do you call? And so this guy gave us the riot act and told us, and I know you had a good time, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he let us go. And he's like, I do not want to see, like, I don't want to see you kids. Like, I don't ever want to see you. Like, if I see you on this road with your girlfriends, with your buddies, I don't care who it is, I'm pulling you over and I'm taking you to jail. You don't ever come this far ever again, because this is where the regular people live, and you're not just going to shit all over it. So that was his one warning. And the rest of us are like, oh, sir, we will never go to Run Point ever again. And you know what? To this day, I still have never been back to Run Point because I'm like, he'll remember me.
What if you do? And it's like
scared that. I mean, you talk about scared to death. We were scared to death, like for death. We were scared of death, yeah. I should say. We were like, I don't know what a third world, I don't know what the jail. I mean, good chance we're gonna be the only white guys there. Not that that matters, but like, I don't know how they handle things there. It's an island, so they've dealt with pirates their whole existence, and
it can't be super fun,
huh?
It can't be super fun.
Nah, not a place I want to go. So that's the Sizzler trips. We made it back, and boy, we raged. And we raised a glass like we were the pirates of whatever. We broke into the pool that night and celebrated, but we never went past. I don't even think we left the gates of the resort after that. I think we're like, let's just stick around here. We got all we need.
That's epic. Hell yeah. A good almost got arrested Sizzler story, because that's what you want. That's what the fans demand.
Almost being the key word. Almost. I'd still be there. You'd never hear from me again. You'd be like, now who?
What happened to Mickeli?
Yeah.
What?
He went to Rum Point. Oh no.
Now we got to do a Bizzler at the Cayman Islands and go to Rum Point. That's what we got to do.
Yeah, well, you go nuts. Just keep your pants up.
And we'll you come and we'll go. But this time we'll do it right. We'll just keep our pants on.
I'll be curled up in the back in a fetal position with a blanket over me, being like, please don't see me.
We'll smuggle you into Rum Point.
There you go.
There you go. We're good at
that. I'm in. I'll do that following my stand-up routine, right?
That's right. We'll go there to do a show. Oh man,
yeah.
That's funny. Oh man, brother, this has been a blast.
Yeah, it's been great.
We went 2 hours. Can you believe that?
No, yeah, a little bit. you know,
it happens. We never mean for these to go long. Like, this is just kind of how it works.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the vibe of the show. So it's been,
and when it does,
fun,
it's
man.
worth every minute.
Oh, it's so fun. Hey, everybody. If you want to get a hold of Mickeli, again, you can go find him on LinkedIn. You can go and check out his website, closersmedia.com. There are, if you want to inquire about how to like join some of these communities that he's building, how to learn more a little bit about what he's doing, just in general, or maybe you sold books and you just want to say hi. You remember, maybe you were one of the 7 Morts on the Jeep, and you just want to be like, hey, I was a Mort on that Jeep. Go find him. Go find him. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening in. Again, remember, if this is your first time, subscribe, like, leave us a review. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, we need a review from you. Please do so. Other than that, that's all we got for you today. Any last closing thoughts, Mickeli, before we get out of here? Any last bit of wisdom you want to say before we wrap it up?
If you're on the fence of wanting to start a business and you've always wanted to, do it. And I'm here to help. If you are on the fence of listening to this going, should I sell books or should I just do it? Nobody regrets the things they do. They regret the things they don't. So whatever's on your heart right now, just do it. You either win or learn, either win or learn. So do it.
Love it. I love it. Good stuff, everybody. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Hope you enjoy. Keep an eye out for our season closer for season 6. It'll be with Ron Alford, and look forward to that episode in late September. Thank you guys so much. We'll catch you on the next one, everybody. Bye.